Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Red Hawk Radio, and welcome back. We are in Goggin Ice Arena in Oxford, Ohio, home of the Miami RedHawks. Now, it is the first game of the RedHawks season. It is the season opener, and it's at home. The teams tonight are the Ferris State Bulldogs and, of course, your Miami RedHawks. Now, considering it is the first game of the season, zeros all across the board, a fresh slate when compared to last season. Now, the last matchup was exactly 364 days ago on October 4th and 5th of 2024. Both games ended in an overtime tie. Historically, it's been pretty close matchup. Miami with 49 wins, Ferris State with 46 and 19 ties. RedHawks have done better than they have away. This is their 32, 21, and 8 when they are home. This is the first time Miami has played these guys at home in 3 years. Now, we have a lot of roster changes, especially in the main player department, but we have new coaching staff as well. Assistant coach Lionel Marone, assistant to the head coach Jimmy Spratt, and assistant director of human performance Lord Farnell. Now, huge roster change. We have 21 new players, 7 defensive, 11 forwards, 3 goalies. Now, for the starting line for Miami, forwards, Kocha Dilik, Aliyah Morzov of the Tri-City Storm, Mateo Giampa, a transfer from Kinesis, and on defense, Ryder Thompson from the Portland Winterhawks, Kyla Coyne, a transfer from Harvard, and in net, Mateo Drobak, a transfer from Western Ontario. For Ferris State, the forwards are Max Dukovac, Tyler Schlepp, Connor McGrath. And for defense, Vatten Pierren and Jack Messick. In goal for Ferris State, Toby Hedquist. Around the NCHC, matchup 1, Augustana at St. Cloud at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And then there's Air Force at Omaha, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. UConn at Colorado, 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 Eastern. Penn State at Arizona State, 9 p.m. Eastern. And finally, for the last matchup in the NCHC, Minnesota Duluth at Alaska Fairpigs, starting at a whopping 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern. You're listening to Red Hawk Radio. Puck drop is just less than 30 minutes away. Stay tuned.
It is opening night around college hockey, and year 2 of the Anthony Noreen tenure begins tonight. The RedHawks feature a national lead, 21 newcomers as they enter an entirely fresh squad following a season in which they went winless in the NCHC. Anthony Noreen's team tries to build back better in 25-26 against a team to start with a couple of familiar faces. Zach Cizik is behind the opposing bench. Max Dukovac will man the left wing on the top line of Miami's opponent. Tonight, Ferris State comes in under a new coaching staff after the retirement of the legendary Bob Daniels. Brett Riley comes over from LIU, and he's from a legendary hockey family in his own right. Did a great job with the Sharks program, and now he leads them in his first season at Ferris State. Alongside Jeff Middleton, Luke West Poley, great to be back with you, Jeff. Great to be back with you all listening. We're really excited for another season of Miami hockey, and really a blank canvas for this Miami team going into this year. We said it, 21 newcomers, the bulk of those freshmen, but Miami added a few transfer additions as well, both from the Division I ranks and dipping their hand into the new pot, of course, recruiting-wise. They've gone the CHL route with a few freshmen, but they've also gone and brought in a couple transfers from Canadian colleges that had previously played in the CHL, as many teams have around college hockey, and it really leaves things pretty wide open. I think there are a lot of teams like Miami around the country this year that really don't know what they'll expect this year.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think the word that Anthony Noreen used in his press conference on Wednesday that kind of stuck out was the word green. There are so many players that have not touched the ice at the Division I college level, and we're going to see tonight, everybody has their chance to prove where they belong in the lineup. They want to move up. You know, obviously you have guys like 17-year-old Ilya Morozov centering the first line for this Miami lineup, and, you know, last year that just wasn't, that wasn't anything that we thought we might have seen from Anthony Noreen. He talked about that on Wednesday as well. The lineup decisions that were made were because players proved themselves to the coaching staff, and, yeah, like you said, Luke, blank slate for everybody here wearing the Miami white jerseys.
Certainly so. We'll toss things off to public address, and Scott Shriver for the Red Hawk lineup and anthem. Back with puck drop. This is Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. national anthem and a moment of silence for the legendary Rick Corrali, father of Sean and Nick, a couple of Miami alums. Sean played at the varsity level for this Red Hawk program and later played in the NHL, and Nick attended Miami University and played on the Red Hawks ACHA team. Another great Miami hockey family. We are really excited to get this 2025-26 season underway alongside Jeff Middleton, Luke Poley with you. Starting goaltenders, and it's a couple of newcomers for each of these two teams. For Ferris State and Brett Riley, they go with Hobie Hedquist, not a newcomer against this Miami team by any means. He spent his last couple of seasons at the University of North Dakota, last year appearing in 10 games for the Fighting Hawks with a 2.8 goals against average and an .894 save percentage. For the Miami RedHawks and Anthony Noreen, they start Mateo Drobak, the 6'2", 205-pound sophomore from Oakville, Ontario. One of the youth sports transfers we were talking about from Canada, as he was brought over from the University of Western Ontario, where he played in 24 games for the Mustangs last year, 2.72 goals against average and a .904 save percentage. Spent parts of 5 years before that with the Hamilton and Brantford Bulldogs of the Ontario Hockey League. Tonight's officials, Justin Hills and Andrew Wilkes, are the referees. Kate Blessing and Eric Frank are the linesmen. And the fan club for the latter has returned, and they were loud during warm-ups as they typically are. Ferris State is in the red uniforms, red helmets, gloves, pants, jerseys, and socks with yellow accents and a yellow bulldog on the front. Miami with the white helmets, red gloves, white tops, red pants, and white socks, and a red M on the front of the jerseys. Puck is dropped and we are underway on the 25-26 season. So glad you're with us. This is going to be a fun one in year two for Anthony Noreen's team. Miami goes from right to left, Ferris State from left to right, and the Bulldogs dump it into the Red Hawk end to begin, and the puck is brought free by Kyle Aucoin, graduate transfer from Harvard, brings it out to mid-ice, but he can't take it any further as the puck is pulled off his stick. In a logjam now along the red line on the near side boards, the puck is shoveled in by Justin Stupka. Well, the freshman, part of a large recruiting class for this Red Hawk team that, again, is with 21 newcomers, the greenest team in the country. Puck is wrapped around the far side of the ice by Logan Heroux, and he sends a cross-corner dump to the near wing that ricochets back to the far side in Miami's end. Puck is brought free, though, by Ilya Morozov, and he chips it forward. The puck is run down all the way in the far corner by Mateo Giampa, the Canisius transfer. He gets run over, but lost his edge a little bit as the puck stays alive in the Ferris State end. In the near corner, Coach Adelic pulls it out for Miami, up to the left point, shot through traffic by Lukashevich, is tipped just wide right of the post. It's recovered by Ilya Morozov, and now the puck ends up at the right point, where it's flipped back in by Michael Quinn. Behind the net, Ilya Morozov, the young freshman, goes to the left point for Lukashevich. The Russian's wrister blockered away by Hedquist. Puck still alive along the near wall. Now it pops to the high slot where Giampa lost his handle on it and couldn't pull the trigger. Between the legs pass finds Michael Quinn, but he's bracketed by 3 red jerseys and just has to dump it in. Solid forecheck, though, for the RedHawks by Maximilian Helgeson, and a penalty drawn as a result, as a slashing call is whistled against Ferris State's Riley Wallach.
Yeah, what a first shift for that first line. Coach Adelic, Ilya Morozov, and Mateo Giampa, along with the help of Lukashevich and Quinn on the back end, just moving the puck extremely well. And, you know, that's something that even if you go to these Miami practices during the week, you can tell that these guys are really trying to get on the same page. And they've, you know, as they've developed, you know, Blake Messenberg, who is not in the lineup tonight but was here last year under Anthony Noreen, talked about how everybody could just kind of be themselves with so many new guys coming into the lineup, or into the roster, I should say. And you can see it right there. Everybody's kind of getting on the same page, and a good, yeah, like I said, good first shift there. And now a power play as a result.
The penalty against Wallach, it's 2 minutes for slashing, and the RedHawks go to the power play for the first time this season. Puck is wrapped around the near side boards into the offensive end where Casper Nassen, one of the returners, plays it in deep for Doug Grimes. He twists it around the far boards for Lukashevich. Back to the near side for a blast on the one-timer by Nassen, and that's blockered away with a thump, and Ferris clears. We have seen that rocket of a shot that Casper Nassen has. We saw it on display multiple times last year. Minute 14 to go, and the penalty as the puck is brought up the ice by Ryder Thompson. WHL edition, freshman from the Portland Winterhawks. Run into the offensive zone by Giampa. He hands it off on the right side boards for a sharp angle shot by David Deputy, and that is sticked wide. And now a chance at a 2-on-1 the other way if Ferris hurries. Here's Gavin Best playing it to the middle of the ice. He draws a penalty down to his knees as the puck comes back his way on the far boards. The RedHawks touch it up, and there goes the power play, 1:06 in, as the RedHawks will play the rest of it 4-on-4. It is a hooking call whistled against Miami's Mateo Giampa.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate play. Obviously, good pass to David Deputy, but he misses the net, and it goes all the way around, and Giampa's kind of caught in between. Not long of a rest for him after a really strong first shift, and he ends up taking a penalty as a result. Just kind of stayed behind his man and ended up getting in the midsection, and that's going to be called every time.
Just under 3 minutes gone by. Face-off won by Ferris State, and a shot ripped in from the left point by Lee. That's blockered away by Mateo Drobak, and the first save he makes is a RedHawk. Miami has it behind the net. So again, we're playing even strength for roughly a minute before Ferris gets an abbreviated power play. McEwen threads it through the center, a drive to the front of the net, and a car crash as Ethan Hay got upended trying to poke that on goal and slid right into Hedquist and net. He knocks the net off. Both guys pop back up. It looks like they're doing all right. Just a bump and a bruise as play stops. As 16:49 to go in the first period. 31 seconds left in the 4-on-4 before 1:07 of power play time for Ferris State. Faceoff comes outside of Miami's offensive zone on the far side of the ice.
Yeah, good zone entry. Sean McEwen on the back end, a freshman coming in from the USHL, really made a nice pass into Hay, and he just kind of missed it. It was a little bit too far in front, but a good idea nonetheless. And yeah, like you said, Hay kind of just went crashing in. Good thing both guys got up as quickly as they did.
He gets set to take the draw now, and Eric Frank makes a change as he tosses out Tyler Schleppe from the circle. Ferris wins the faceoff anyway, though, and the Bulldogs set up in the neutral zone. An attempt at a cross-corner dump by Purinen is knocked out of the air by the RedHawks, and they recover it behind their own net. To the far side of the ice, it's McEwen. Back through the middle, he finds Kyle O'Coin. He steps left, heads into the offensive zone, and flips it off the end wall. Puck recovered behind the net by Valtteri Purinen. He plays it softly down the far side where the RedHawks pinch down on it, and a wrister sent wide by Bradley Walker. Now to the left point, a deflected shot by Ryder Thompson that hit off the stick of a pursuing defender for Ferris State, but that's knocked aside by Hedquist. Penalty has come to an end for Ferris State, and so they're on the power play now for the next 50 seconds. Chris Lee skates it around his own net and heads up ice. Now he hands it backward into his own zone for McGrath. McGrath to the right side where it's banked off the near side boards by Rappelj. Puck along the end wall in Miami's end as a RedHawk got spun around. Miami bench wanted a penalty, none comes as Chris Lee has it on the point. Now the puck threaded through traffic in front. A couple whacks at it for Josh Zeri, but he got stood up by Drobak. Big hit, meanwhile, thrown in the corner by Bradley Walker, and McGrath fumbles it on the left point. And the RedHawks poke it away and clear.
Well, Walker's giving it to Zeri down in the corner. Obviously that huge hit, and then he turned around to go to the bench and just was yelling at him as he was going and making the change.
5 seconds remaining on the penalty to Giampa as he gets set to come back on. And he does, just as Ferris dumps it into the offensive zone. Puck is pulled down on the far side by Jack Silich for the Bulldogs. But now stolen away by Miami, who cannot clear. Zone is held by Rowe, who pokes it further and further into the corner. Now he blows it higher. Puck tied up in his skates, and the RedHawks pull it free. Although Stupka had his pocket picked, and the puck is wired back in by Emerson Good. But now the Bulldogs go for changes, and so no forecheck. Lukashevich can just easily skate this out towards neutral ice as Miami recovers. Down the right side, a step ahead there for Helgeson. The puck got swung across the middle of the ice where Deputy was driving the net front, but Ferris got there first, and now Schleppe skates it down the left wing. As he enters the zone, though, the puck is poked off his stick, and Helgeson recovers it. Although he can't find David Deputy, Ferris tries to break quickly back the other way, but they hadn't cleared the zone yet. And the puck crosses the blue for offside. 14-19 to go in the first period. We've got no score. And Miami out shooting Ferris State 4-1. Face off on the far side of the ice in the neutral zone.
Yeah, and something that, might not really be recognized, by people that just come to watch the game in general, but the connection that these players had, I talked about it a little earlier, like they're really trying to make sure, the coaching staff, are really trying to make sure that these guys are not only skilled, but also connected in terms of play, as there's going to be a penalty on Ferris State again.
Got a penalty right off the face-off.
I believe it's going to be holding the stick.
As Miami won it forward, and Max Helgeson was racing after it and got impeded. And so Ferris is arguing the call. There were some extracurriculars after the whistle, but our officiating crew got on it pretty quickly. Benches jawing at each other a little bit as the penalty goes to the former Red Hawk, Max Dukovac, who gets his name called for the first time tonight, not in a positive light for his new Bulldogs. Second power play, and you're hoping for Miami the first full one with just under 6 minutes gone by in the first as they look to break the ice.
Yeah, what I was saying, these guys really, it's all about connection, and David Deputy made such a good play to Max Helgeson in the neutral zone. He receives a puck and just kind of spins it around, but he knows where Helgeson's going to be, spins it off the board right to his tape, and it doesn't result in anything. But those are the kind of plays that make a difference, and you can just kind of tell that as a team develops, as guys create chemistry with each other, that's going to mean all more when it comes to conference play, especially later this season.
Had a false start on the draw. Now on the second effort, face-off is won, and Rappelj skates it down the right side, tried to drive the net. He got stood up by Ryder Thompson. Good defensive effort from the freshman, who now has it with no pressure in the near side corner of Miami's defensive zone. Thompson skates it through the center of the ice, turns his hips back towards his own net, and feeds Kocha Delic. Delic enters the zone on the right wing. Plays patty cake with Deputy, tries to hand it back around the near side, but it got whacked by his intended target in Giampa. Morozov gets on it, though, on the near half wall to keep it in. Now it's Giampa skating it into the left circle. He hands for Deputy, climbing the wall. Back down low, Giampa twists it in front, but it didn't find anybody and banks off the far side boards. Thompson has it right point, skating across, looking. Giampa with a one-timer, but a sliding stop by Messick to block the shot. Puck kept in the zone, though, by the RedHawks, and now a lane down the left side for Giampa, who threw it across. It got broken up, and it's cleared away by Pyranit. Couple of good, crafty plays at the net front for Giampa, but neither get through as the first minute of the penalty goes by, and Miami brings on their second power play unit.
Again, just another play where Giampa knows where his guys are going to be.
Smith steps it to the front, and his shot is saved with the glove by Hedquist. Now it's Quinn on the left point, walking it across for Miami to the near side. Nasson fakes the one-timer. Back up center point, Quinn. Wrister through traffic, deflected high, bounces dangerously next to the left post, but nobody could get to it. Now Nasson recovers for Miami and gives back up for Quinn. Nasson, top of the left circle, across right point for Quinn. Into the left circle, a one-time attempt for Ryan Smith, but he fanned on the shot. Now it's Quinn from the center point, he scores! Michael Quinn, one of the returning RedHawks, is the first Miamian to score in the 25-26 season. A wrister through traffic and a tally on the power play for Miami as they take a 1-0 lead 7.5 minutes in.
I mean, that power play was about as good as it can get. Casper Nasson, another returner, has been unbelievably impressive. It's only been about 7.5 minutes, but he has been unbelievably impressive, and the only reason that puck stayed in was because Casper Nasson stepped up, took the body, and made a play on the puck and was able to get it to Michael Quinn. And a great shot from the point through traffic. Puck movement has been fantastic from the RedHawks so far. Obviously, it's still very early, but loving what we're seeing here from the RedHawks early.
RedHawk goal by Quinn. It's unassisted at 7:30 of the first, and Miami uncorks one on the power play. Got a deflected puck through center ice that goes down for an icing as we resume play on the RedHawks. As play will come back into Miami's end, but man, the power play has just struggled so much over the course of this RedHawk retooling. They were just 17% last year. And on their first full power play of the year, they score following a brief 1-minute chance earlier on that was cut short due to a penalty the RedHawks took. 12:06 to go in the first period. It's 1-0 Miami. Face off on the far side of the ice for Ferris in their offensive zone. Riley Wallach, one of the players that followed his head coach from Long Island to Ferris State, wins the draw back to the left point, and a shot off the back foot by Talene is blockered into the netting by Droback.
Man, Bradley Walker is an absolute wrecking ball out there. He has been doing nothing but making plays on the puck and absolutely bulldozing Ferris State players. he's still jawing at a couple guys wearing red tonight. He's been impressive so far. Only a couple shifts for him, but nonetheless, off that faceoff, he made a couple good plays there.
With that stoppage, that takes us to our first timeout. Michael Quinn scores on the power play, and the RedHawks lead it 1-0 with 12:01 to go in the first period. This is opening night. Thanks for listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. .12:01 remaining opening period. It's Miami 1 and Ferris State 0 after the goal by Michael Quinn on the power play for the RedHawks. Special teams has struggled over the last couple years for this Miami team. Great to see them cash in early on as they have an early lead. Face off on the far side of the ice in Ferris State's offensive zone. Riley Wallach, the British Columbia native and senior, wins it back for an attempt at a shot by Rappelj, but he fanned on it at the top of the left circle. That allows Miami to clear. They get it just across the center red and dump it in. Ryder Thompson in on the pinch. He plays it in deep. Around to the far side. A bump off the puck by Bradley Walker. He tried to slide that against the end wall, though, and it was picked up from there and cleared by Wallach. And now Rappelj runs it down. Sharp angle shot from the left corner is sticked aside by Drobak. It bounced in front for a moment, but was recovered for the RedHawks and cleared away by Phelan. On the near side, it is Messick for Ferris State that plays it up for Silic. He hits the swinging man through the center, and Zary to skate it out to neutral ice. Delic, though, stripped him of possession, and Morozov lifts it in to the offensive zone. Hedquist out of his net to play it. He fakes to the near side, throws it along the far side. Puck hit off the dasher, though, and popped up in the air and out of play. Was caught by a student in the first row. Great student crowd, by the way, but
absolutely,
that's a bit of a tough break for Ferris State as this faceoff stays in their defensive zone. 11:07 to go first period, 1-0 Miami. Faceoff will be conducted on the far side of the ice.
Whiteout is in full effect tonight.
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
They gave away shirts that said Miami Hockey on the front and Brick Street on the back.
Because what would a Miami hockey game be without an advertisement of the biggest bar in Oxford?
I got a feeling you'll see one or two of those on eBay coming up
absolutely.
in a few days. Face-off won by the Bulldogs as they try to clear. We got some extracurriculars going on the far side, but that's quickly broken up as the puck is skated to neutral ice by Lee. Now he heads into the offensive zone. He tried to spin and shoot, but he got poked off the puck by Lukashevich. And as the RedHawks attempt to clear the zone, Stupka kicks it back to his defense. And the puck is raced free. Down the left side, here comes Doug Grimes. He heads into the corner, spins with possession. Back up left point, Lukashevich. To the far side, one-timer blocked in front off a RedHawk. The shot was by McEwen, and he hit Max Helgeson in front of the net. And that allows Ferris to bring this out to center. They flutter it in. Another big collision. This has been
almost a huge hip check in neutral zone.
Yeah, hard-hitting game to begin. Right now it's Schleppy sidestepping inside the right blue line. He caught a knee from, I believe that was Helgeson. Yeah, and he's going to go off for tripping. Just took a slight step to the side, and Helgeson kicked his skate out from under him, and so Ferris State goes to the power play for the second time. But like the RedHawks, this is their first chance in full after about a minute of power play time last time around. We're about at the midway mark of the first period as the Bulldogs trail by a goal.
Yeah, and this is the dangerous part of these hard-hitting, physical, fast games is, you know, sometimes you get a little carried away or one thing goes wrong and now you're at a disadvantage.
Face-off win for the Bulldogs. Lee has it center point. Shuffles to the near side. A one-time shot by Wallach. That got smothered in front by Bradley Walker. Now it's Wallach again, who turns in the right circle, back center point for Lee. Shifts his weight left and right. Lee to the far side, a pass whipped through traffic to find McGrath off the bank on the near boards. McGrath skates it to the middle, trying to find Wallach for a one-timer in the right circle, but he couldn't corral it. Instead, he flutters it across the slot. Nobody's there. Now Lee from center point, his wrister blocked. McGrath walks it through traffic, save made. Rebound, they score. McGrath walked it across. Drobak made the first save with a lot of bodies in his face, but the shot was followed up by Josh Zary, a prolific goal scorer for this Ferris State team. And he puts it in, and like the RedHawks, Ferris State pulls through on their first full power play of the night.
Yeah, 44 goals in 92 career games played for Josh Zary, and you can see why they're not afraid to go to the net on the power play. And once again, that's just a mistake that can't happen. Obviously, Helgeson not trying to trip him on purpose, but trying to make a hit, trying to make a play on the puck, and it ends up costing the RedHawks big time as this game is now tied.
Josh Zary headed into this year as the national leader among active players in power play goals. That's the 26th power play goal of his career. As off the faceoff, Ferris State throws it in, and Drobak just grabs it and holds on.
Also had some words for the Miami bench as he skated by for his celebration.
This has been a chippy first period. It's
yeah.
been entertaining. Got 9.5 minutes to go. Zary gets the goal, and officially that's unassisted. That may be changed later on as we are tied at 1. Face off on the near side of the ice. Coach Adelic to take it for Miami against Tanner Rowe of Ferris State. Rowe wins it for a backhand shot from the top of the circle by Rampelje. Doesn't get a bunch on it. It's an easy save for Drobak. So 9:26 to go in the first period. Face off on the near side of the ice. Ferris State has closed the shots gap considerably. They were down 7-2 early on. It's now 7-6. And we're tied on the scoreboard.
Zary's right back out there.
Ferris changed lines after just 4 seconds between the couple of whistles. Face-off is won by the RedHawks, who kept the same line out there, and Delic skates it up the near side where he throws it down a step short of the red line, and that's icing.
Close.
And again, your yearly reminder that that is really, really strictly enforced. It has been a point of emphasis, and so Delic gets his first instance of that as he was about 6 inches short of the red line, but that is icing, and the face-off's on the far side. Again, we have seen it so often. You don't really get much leeway when it comes to the icing call. You got to be across the red line.
Yep.
And to be fair, that's not a complaint. That's just
it
how
is
you
what
call
it
it based off the book.
Yep.
Face-off won by the RedHawks, but they can't clear it. Zary now stuck along the far side boards, and a logjam tries to poke it up the half wall. Puck springs free for the RedHawks in an attempt to clear by Aucoin, but it was pulled down at the blue line, and Ferris holds the zone. Spin around, dump back in by Badal. Puck rings to the near side where Silic shovels it in. He takes a hit from Morozov in the process. Aucoin behind the RedHawk goal, plays it up the far wing for an accelerating Giampa, who steps inside the offensive zone but gets crunched off the puck, and Ferris takes it free. Here comes Connor McGrath. He tried to play it to the near side. The Bulldogs got delayed at the blue line as Schleppe blew a tire, and then he reached back and pulled the puck into the zone after him. So that's an offside against the Bulldogs, and we get a stoppage. 8:31 to go first period. Ferris State now up to 9 shots as we're tied at 1.
I mean, I really love this line, taking the face-off now. Nasen, Stupka, and Doug Grimes, 3 guys. They started the game and, you know, really set the tone. And there's a big hit from Doug Grimes, transferred from Boston University.
Look out, the puck off the stanchion pops in front and got under the pad of Drobak, but nobody was there for it on the far side. RedHawks recover it, and Nasen just barely gets it out of the zone. He got hit by a couple of Bulldogs in doing so, and Ferris drives it back in. Tallinn played it in off the dump. Lukashevich in the near corner coughed it up. Tallinn trying to play it back for Best, but it missed him. Haru holds it along the center point and whacks a spinning puck in the direction of goal. It's slapped down, though, by Lukashevich, and the RedHawks play it out to a safety area. Right back in, though, for Ferris State. RedHawks get a quick steal away and now break up the ice for Helgeson 1-on-2. Hits the brakes at the left hashes, plays it to the middle for a wrister up high. That is easily handled off the stick of Phelan, and now we got some pushing and shoving in front. Hedquist makes the save and he holds on with 7:34 to go in the first. I have a feeling
extracurriculars are aplenty here.
Yeah, this is going to escalate into something more at some point tonight. But nothing too bad yet. Face off on the near side of the ice coming up in Miami's offensive zone. Helgeson with Smith and Deputy on for Miami. The deep pair, McEwen and Phelan, who's the extra skater tonight. Face off one to Smith. He twirls down the left side, fakes, spins in the circle, throws it to the middle of the point. McEwen with a shot through traffic. That's kicked with the right pad as Hedquist directs it to the near side boards and Silic skates it away. Silic tries to step by McEwen. Puck goes all the way into the near corner of Ferris's offensive zone, but Miami grabs it and throws it back the other direction. Valtteri Pirinen, the Finn who formerly played at Long Island with Brett Riley, brings it up, and now it's Good who tosses it in for Ferris State. Light forecheck with the Bulldogs in the midst of a change. That allows Miami to clear. Hay chips it up the far wall for a defensive recovery now as Messick threads it through center. Schleppe on the deflection, in on goal. Gets his toes right on the edge of the blue pane as Droback holds on, and a couple chops for good measure in front as we have reached a timeout. 6:47 to go in the first period, and Ferris State answers thanks to the national leader in career power play goals. Josh Zary grabs another, and our score now sits at 1-1. Closing stages of the first period on the way when we come back. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. .647 remaining opening period with our score Miami 1 and Ferris State 1. Alongside Jeff Middleton, Luke West Poley with you. Rivalry renewed between a couple of former CCHA foes. Ferris State continues to play in the new version of the CCHA. Face off on the far side of the ice in Ferris State's offensive zone, and it is won by Riley Wallach to the left point for a shot by Jean-Louis. He scores. Xavier Jean-Louis, who seemingly has barely touched the ice in this first period, comes on and makes an immediate impact with a wrister. Didn't look like there was a ton of traffic, but that just sailed right over Mateo Dromac's shoulder. And the senior from Montreal, transfer from Alaska, scores the first even strength goal of the night to make it 2-1 Ferris State.
Yeah, and that's a really tough break for Miami. Ilya Morozov gets tossed out of the faceoff circle in the defensive zone, and Coach Adelik is sent in to take it, and he loses it to the natural centerman. And then as a result, the puck goes literally right back to Jean-Louis and results in a goal against.
Ferris immediately pushing back to the offensive zone. Slap shot from the right side by Messick is saved with the chest by Droback. Steal away at center ice is Helgeson trying to hand it off on the right side, but that pass is broken up. Miami, by the way, is getting crushed in the faceoff circle right now. Ferris is 15 of 19 at the dot. David Deputy got slammed. He's a little bit slow to get up on the far side of the ice as the puck, meanwhile, just slowly rolls in from the far side boards on the goaltender.
Looks like Deputy's headed back to the locker room. Looked like his shoulder went in awkwardly to the boards in front of the Ferris State bench, and yeah, immediately got up and went back to the room. Hopefully see him return.
I beg your pardon about this goalkeeping situation for Ferris State. They listed Hobie Hedquist as their starter. It is Noah Ruprecht in net, the transfer from Long Island. So Ruprecht has been between the pipes. That is rather odd. That's a late change for Ferris State, but at least according to the statistics, he's been in there the whole time, and I haven't seen Ferris make a change, so it must have been like that since the jump. Apologize that we didn't catch that. Anyways, RedHawks bring it back into the offensive zone, and Stupka pokes it behind the Ferris State goal. Puck pulled off the half wall out for Phelan, the left point, and he risks one in. That is snatched up by Noah Ruprecht, and now Doug Grimes sticking his nose in there as he got his head tied up in the arms of Nick Belpedio, who had some words for him on the way by. Belpedio transfer from Colgate, and he wears an A on his chest. He's got a familiar name to Miami fans. His much older brother, Louis, was captain of this Miami team many years ago. Played in the NHL for the Minnesota Wild, has spent a lot of his career in the American Hockey League. The referees are going to meet here. They might take a look at something. I don't believe that this was a challenge from either bench, as I did not see a referee go over to either of the benches, but they now have sent both teams to the benches, and they're discussing over by the referee's crease on the near side. They're just kind of pointing back and forth.
Yeah, it looks like Belpedio kind of went after Grimes, and Grimes kind of gives him, it's hard to see on the replay, but
they're about to make an announcement for a potential major. So something of note is Belpedio, at least from what we can see, because his tie-up on the left side is kind of out of frame of the TV broadcast, but on the tail end of it, you can see him reach out and kind of headlock a little bit. He kind of swings and misses at Grimes. Initially, the two collided as the puck was coming up to the point, but something to note is that if you grab any part of the helmet and pull, that is a major penalty, and so that is possibly what is being looked at here. And goodness gracious, for Belpedio, that would be
not a good penalty at all.
Just a backbreaker, yeah, just not a good penalty if that's the case. It's one of those that you just don't even really want to mess with. You can be aggressive away from the puck, but that is, you don't want to reach your arm up in the head area of another player, because that's just asking for trouble. Yeah, referees Justin Hills and Andrew Wilker at the monitor.
I think it just made a difference that his arm ended up behind Grimes' head. If it was on, even if it was on top, it was, you know, it's a little harder to tell, but you can see his arm reach over and then his arms come down, and so I'm not sure.
We get confirmation now because they're showing a zoomed in look that that's the play that the referees are looking at. And yeah, like you said, I mean, if your arm is just kind of up and wrapped around Grimes' head, that's probably just considered a normal scrum type of play. But because Belpedio reached up and it appeared it grabbed or attempted to grab the back of Grimes' helmet and then kind of yank on it at the end of the play, that could spell some trouble here for the Bulldogs. Referees are done looking at this. And now our announcement from Justin Hills. No major penalty. So a close call, but some sighs of relief on the Ferris State side. And we play on. 5:48 to go, first period, and the Bulldogs lead it 2-1. Face-off coming up in the right wing of Miami's offensive zone.
Well, look, as nice as that would have been for Miami to kind of get some momentum back, they also do really need to start producing more at even strength. Ferris State has felt like the better team overall in this first period. Obviously, Miami came out with a strong start, and scoring first is huge. But since then, it's kind of been hard for them to get in the zone. Entries have been tougher, and shots really haven't been from quality scoring areas. So, yes, well, you'd obviously like to have the 5-minute penalty, or the 5-minute power play, I should say. You kind of want to start seeing something here at even strength.
Applejay plays it into the offensive zone off the face-off win for Ferris State. Lukashevich has it behind the net for Miami. Long pass ahead, finds Giampa. He's got a break down the left wing. Giampa handles and scores!
There it is.
.150-foot pass by Vlad Lukashevich. And Giampa did the rest as he accelerated down the left wing, came in alone, gave a couple of quick handles and chipped that over the left shoulder of Ruprecht. And Miami has squared the game at 2 with 5:28 to play in the first.
Yeah, and if there's anything about Matteo Giampa that you love watching him in practice or watching him just in warm-ups, it's his shot. I mean, he only scored 8 goals last year, but he led Canisius in points, goals, or in assists and points last year. And, you can see why. His hands are just fantastic. And, that shot is, like you said, Luke, a couple stick handles, backhand or forehand, forehand, and just right over the left shoulder of the goaltender Ruprecht.
Ferris State ices it immediately off the draw. Goal to Matteo Giampa, assist to Vladislav Lukashevich, and Ilya Morozov, the young freshman, gets his first point with the secondary assist.
Yeah, we need to talk about that pass from Lukashevich. That was unbelievable. Perfect right to the tape of Giampa off the wall. It doesn't get much better than that. He from behind his own goal line as well. It wasn't like he was in the faceoff dot or anything. Right from literally right behind the net to the right side and just fires it up the wall. And yeah, it doesn't get much prettier than that.
Michigan State transfer Vlad Lukashevich was one of the more eyebrow-raising portal additions that this team had, in that he had some experience playing at a very, very high level with the Spartans. And like you said, that was a dime. Ferris State brings it up the near side to get into the offensive zone. RedHawks cough it up on the clearing attempt, and Haru with a wrister through that is sticked aside by Drobak. Puck is lifted out to center, and Grimes, through all of the traffic, weaves through with possession. He now gets banged along the near wall by Haru, but has enough muster to play it in deep. Puck rolls around the far side boards. A lot of collisions on and off the puck right now as a stick goes flying while Ferris clears. Bouncing puck near Miami's bench. Nick Donato pulls it back for the RedHawks. Down the left wing, entry into the zone for Ryan Smith. He fakes the step out into the corner and now tried to play it up the right seam, where Donato swung and missed on the passing attempt. And the puck comes all the way back to the RedHawks defensive zone. McEwen a long feet ahead. Hay deflects it in for the RedHawks.
Worth noting that this is David Deputy's line, and he's not out there. Ethan Hay takes his spot.
He's the fourth line center, like you said, and playing second line right wing at the moment. Ferris State gets it back into the RedHawks end. Lukashevich was hustled in his attempt to get it up the ice, and so the RedHawks will just dump it in down the near side. Helgeson going after it. And the RedHawk forecheck works. Puck reverse to the far side. Quinn steps it in. Shot deflected high. Now a sharp angle attempt off the end wall. Ricochet by Hay. And he just shot that through the middle of the slot. There's a couple players laying on the ice on the far side. Meanwhile, as Lukashevich wraps it to the near wall and plays it across. Smith on the far side boards. Turns and whips it in. Hay after it behind the net. Backhand bank to the left point. Lukashevich fakes left. Now shovels it in left. Puck secured behind the net by Belpedio. He's pinned by Hay. 3 white jerseys below the goal line. Miami pulls it free. Lukashevich with a one-timer from the center of point. And that is deflected wide. And as Ilya Morozov went in the corner, he got tossed by Nick Belpedio, who takes possession but cannot clear. Puck put back in deep by the RedHawks. Jack Messick plays it up the far wall, and finally it deflects out for Ferris State. Miami trying to not give them much reprieve, though, as the RedHawks play it right back in. But some RedHawks were hasty, and as Ferris State pulled that back defensively, Giampa gave chase, and the intentional offside was whistled, and that brings this back or an offside pass, I guess I should say, would bring this back to Miami's defensive half of the red line. Puck still in the neutral zone for this faceoff with 2:53 to go in the first, and we're tied at 2.
And once again, that first line, fantastic puck possession, just knowing where each other are, especially using the points really well. Passes off the wall from behind the net, off the wall from the half wall. It's been really, really strong use of the entire offensive zone.
Face-off win for the Bulldogs. They're now 20 of 24 at the dots in this first period. They get it into the offensive zone, but the RedHawks break the forecheck with excellent pace. Stupka lasers it into the offensive zone and off the end wall. Forecheck being provided by Doug Grimes. Ferris gets around it enough to clear to neutral ice. RedHawks tried to move it back the other way quickly, but Stupka couldn't step across the blue with possession. Puck taken the other way by Pirinen, and he lobs it into the RedHawks zone as the Bulldogs go for changes. Up the far wall, just inside the blue line, a battle for the puck ensues. It pops free to the RedHawks defensive side, and it came to the near wall where McEwen tried to give it to Hay. He did not get a stick on it, but the icing is waved. Ferris State, though, pries it out and flings it across the middle of the ice where Haru works into it in space and skates it down the right wing. Haru dumps it in as he gets bumped off the puck. Below the goal line, Nicholas Mikan going after it. The backside official has signaled for a penalty, and Miami touches up.
Believe it's going to be on McEwen. Yep.
It's a roughing penalty against Sean McEwen, the freshman.
Gave him an extra shove on the ground.
And so with 1:46 to go in the first period, Ferris State gets a big chance on the end cap to try and retake the lead as they go to the power play for the third time, trying to untie this game, currently at 2-2.
Again, just a penalty you can't take. Obviously, first game of his collegiate career, Sean McEwen has looked good on the back end, looks pretty comfortable as far as I can see, but yeah, just a penalty that you can't take, especially in a physical game and one where both teams have taken advantage on the power play.
Anthony Noreen was barking at Justin Hills. He didn't agree, but still a penalty nonetheless, as the faceoff is won by Ferris State, but an aggressive formation off the draw. It goes right between their two D-men that were splayed pretty far in and comes out to the neutral zone. Regroup for the Bulldogs. Puck is shoveled in by Riley Wallach. And the RedHawks get on it first. A glass and out attempt from Helgeson gets knocked down at the blue line. Zeri had it for a moment, but Helgeson picks his pocket and flings it down the ice. Lee back on it for Ferris State. Again, we'll give you the last year's stats about these team special teams units, but it really doesn't matter because they're essentially entirely refreshed rosters. Minute 4 to go in the first period. Minute 18 in the minor penalty to Sean McEwen. We're tied at 2. To the far side of the ice, Connor McGrath hands it off just inside the blue line to Zeri. He wraps it around the wall to the near side where Wallach lost control and the RedHawks clear. Morozov hustling after it. That forces Ruprecht out of his net, and he pulls it around the far wall as Morozov still gives forecheck, and he's got the Bulldogs pinned now as he goes for a change, and Delic goes to work.
That is a big frame hustling down the ice, 200 feet.
Down the left side, an attempt to worm through traffic by Max Dukovac, but he got poked off the puck. Puck came up to the right point where Gavin Best sent a shot in that got blocked. One-handed block by Messick to keep that in. Delic pounced on it and tried to chip it the other way. Puck went out, then back in, and is touched up for an offside. But that's perhaps a fortuitous one for Ferris State, as Delic would have flown the other way against a flat-footed defenseman for a potential breakaway. 18 seconds to go in the first. Neutral ice draw coming up. Schleppe working against Hay.
And honestly, the RedHawks are lucky that that was offside because Kosha Delic was in the neutral zone. They were going to be they're already down a man, and they were going to be down another after the aggressive play from Delic without the puck.
Puck comes up to the right point where Belpedio has it for Ferris State. He plays it down into the corner. Best goes deeper into the corner for Dukovac, spinning with 2 seconds and 1, but Ferris can't get anything to the net front. And that expires time on our first period. Special teams is the name of the game in the first. 5 total power plays split amongst the two squads and some carryover time. 15 seconds left on the penalty for the RedHawks, as Sean McEwen will head to the box coming out of the intermission. but everything comes out even after 20. And Jeff, with our score at 2-2, this really felt like an early season type of hockey game.
Did.
Both teams came out with a ton of energy. You could tell there was a lot of excitement from each of these teams to finally be playing in a game, but the play was far from clean, both on the discipline side and just in terms of some mental mistakes that we saw in the opening 20. And all things considered, it made for an entertaining first period, but I think both coaching staffs have some work to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and completely agree with that. I think, like you said, it wasn't particularly sloppy hockey. Obviously that both teams they were able to create some possession time and create on the power play and even off the penalty kill and even strength. But yeah, just not the greatest in terms of I guess consistency would be the word, in terms of like stretches where both teams had the puck, or there were times when Miami looked really good in the offensive zone and then things would just kind of break down. Obviously when you have penalties and power plays in between that, it can get kind of muddled in, and you have to kind of deal with the repercussions of that. But yeah, like you said, it wasn't the cleanest period of hockey of all time, but there's a lot of energy, and I think the biggest thing for Miami, especially discipline, is going to be the big over the next 40 minutes, making sure that they're not taking penalties that would otherwise be, that they don't need to be taking, like that last one. You don't need to be shoving a guy a couple of extra times on the ground, as much as you might want to, considering the speed and the physicality of this game. It's just not worth it, because you know that you're going to get called for that. So yeah, moving forward, discipline is probably going to be the name of the game, and we'll see what the next 40 can bring.
RedHawks were among the most penalized teams in the country last season, and despite not much carryover on the roster, at least that is carried over into the first period of their new 25-26 season. But again, still plenty of time to clean things up. 40 minutes left to play in this one, and a whole season in front of this brand new hockey team. We're at the first intermission here on opening night from Cady Arena with our score Miami 2 and Ferris State 2. We'll take a break, and when we come back, Will Salzarulo has your Red Hawk Radio intermission, and we'll have Jeff and I back with you for the second period in just about 10 minutes' time. Stay with us. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
You're listening to Red Hawk Radio, and wow, what a great first period. Really fun on both sides. I'm Will Salzarulo. This is your first intermission update. Now, 4 goals in the first period, 2 by Miami, 2 by Ferris State. First goal was by Miami's Michael Quinn. It was a power play goal. He was unassisted. Second goal of the night, Josh Zeri of Ferris State. Power play goal, also unassisted. Third goal of the night, Jean-Louis of Ferris State at even strength, assisted by Riley Wallach. And then finally, the last goal of the first period was Mateo Giampa of Miami, even strength goal, assisted by Vladislav Lukashev and Ilya Morzov. Now, in the face-off department, it's been very one-sided in favor of Ferris State. Miami only winning 4 face-offs in the first period, Ferris State winning 22. Now, penalties, there were 5 penalties, a lot of penalties tonight. Miami with 3, Ferris State with 2, Miami with hooking, tripping, and roughing. That roughing penalty will carry over into the second period with about 15 seconds remaining. Ferris State with slashing and hooking. Shots on net is pretty even. Miami with 12, Ferris State with 13. Now there's a lot of good stuff coming up tonight. So in conclusion, first period, Miami 2, Ferris State 2. Tonight, around the NCHC, matchup 1, Augustana at St. Cloud is happening right now. 1-0, Augustana. Air Force at Omaha, 0-0. Later tonight, UConn at Colorado College, 9 p.m. Eastern. Penn State at Arizona State, also 9 p.m. Eastern. And then Minnesota Duluth at Alaska Fairbanks at 11 p.m. Eastern. Quite a great night for hockey, ladies and gentlemen. Hockey season is finally upon us. I'm super hyped to be here. You're listening to Red Hawk Radio. Puck drop is in about 5 minutes. I've been Will Salzarulo, and this has been your first intermission update. Puck drop is in 5 minutes, 35 seconds. Thank you.
Second period set to start in moments with the score Miami 2, Ferris State 2. One tally for each team on the power play in the first period. Ferris State will have their third power play of the night, conclude 15 seconds after this period starts, as the RedHawks will start down a man with Sean McEwen's minor still going into the middle period. Pretty even first, although it wasn't as if the game was just played mostly in the neutral zone. It was a lot of Miami for the first part, a lot of Ferris State for the middle part of the period, and then the RedHawks finish things off relatively well prior to the penalty. Shots 13-12 in favor of the Bulldogs. As we kick off this series between a couple of teams that have, well, now pretty much annually met in the non-conference slate. RedHawks were on the road in Big Rapids against this Ferris team last year. And teams that used to see each other every year as conference opponents in the old CCHA. Eric Frank gets ready to drop the puck. Face-off between Ilya Morozov and Josh Zary. Face-off won by the Bulldogs. In the red uniforms, they go right to left. Miami in the white uniforms go left to right. Ferris State flubs a DDD pass in their own zone, and that runs the rest of the time off this penalty as McEwen comes back onto the ice and Pirinen heads into the offensive zone down the left wing. Puck is wrapped around to the far side. It cannot be held by Jack Messick, who's forced to drop into the neutral zone. Now he hands it off on the right side, though, for a wide open teammate of McGrath. He fires a shot in from the far side boards, and that's grabbed by Drobak, who holds on 30 seconds into the period. Well, objective A in the second period was to kill off the final 15 seconds of the penalty, and so now you can kind of refresh into the true second period if you're Miami. Face-off coming up on the far side of the ice.
Miami's got their first line out there. Obviously a great first period for these three guys, and you know what the name of their game has been puck possession, and you know, obviously for head coach Anthony Noreen, hoping that they can provide some of that here early and give the RedHawks a little bit of momentum.
Giampa steps into the zone on the left side. He had Delic wide open down the middle of the ice, but didn't have enough time to get it to him. Wallach broke it up, and now he swipes it into the offensive end for Ferris State. They're in offside, though, and have to clear out as the RedHawks thread it up the far side. Giampa backs into the offensive zone, curls in the far side corner, and tucks the puck behind the goal where Delic is there waiting on it. Plays it in front, got through everybody. McEwen with a center point shot. That whistles wide. Now back along the near boards, Donato with a wrister. Wide maybe on purpose as Grimes runs it down on the far half wall. McEwen flutters one off the end boards. Stupka pries it off the wall from there, skates it to the far side, looking, trying to pass it in front, but fanned, and instead now heads to the left point. Stupka hands it off for Donato. He banks it off the end wall. Puck bounces in front. It got through Ruprecht initially. He had to pounce and then reach his stick out to pull it to himself, but covers it up on the edge of the blue paint and hangs on with 1:32 gone by in the second period. We're still tied at 2. Miami brings on their second line of Smith, Helgeson, and Ethan Hay is still out there as David Deputy took a hit in the first and has not returned. Face-off set to happen on the near side of the ice of Miami's offensive zone.
Yeah, and you know, that first shift for the first line, able to create some possession and then get that big third line out there just to kind of bulldoze everybody, keep the puck on their sticks. A couple shots, but nothing coming. And yeah, like you said, obviously it's really unfortunate. David Deputy playing in his first Division I college hockey game and gets bulldozed on the Ferris State bench, and you know, it looked like it was his shoulder or something of the sort, and you know, obviously still back in the locker room.
Helgeson steps it into the offensive zone on the right side for Miami. Battling for it against Zary. Helgeson pulls it free, and Hay shovels it in deep, and we got a penalty coming up on Ferris State as it's touched up behind the net by Trevor Talene. And an interference call whistled against said Talene. So the third power play of the night on the way for Miami. 18:06 to go in the second period, and Miami's already scored once on the man advantage tonight.
And And once again, like I said at the end of the first, discipline is going to be the name of the game here, and obviously not a great penalty for the Bulldogs to take early in this period, and now it's up to the RedHawks to capitalize. Had a defenseman. They had Jean-Louis take the draw after the center was kicked out. I don't think I've seen that before.
Fair enough. He partially won it. A break the other way for Jean-Louis, who gets a backdoor feed after a long thread pass on the far side from Wallach, and he couldn't get there. He then got turned around in the neutral zone by Delic as the RedHawks get it into the offensive end. Puck deflected through the middle. Delic couldn't quite get there as it fell short of him. And it's skated all the way down the ice by Valtteri Piironen, and he pulls it between his legs and now just kills time with it up against the end boards. RedHawks pride out, minute 25 to go on the power play. Giampa heads forward up the wing. Cross corner dump, banks off the near side boards, and it ends up at the right point for Quinn. The goal scorer on Miami's power play. Walks it across, gets a return feed on a one-timer, save made, rebound popped out. It was whacked back on goal by Morozov, but he got stood up by Ruprecht, and now a break the other direction. In on net, Rappelje went to the forehand, but he lost control, and it was sticked away. Now a second chance in front, and Best put it into the shoulder of Drobak. Well, the RedHawks thought they were out of the woods off the initial chance, but Rappelje just whacked it back in front, and nobody was looking behind them. Gavin Best, the captain of this Ferris State team, was standing right between the hashes to whack that on goal, but Miami's goaltender bails them out to avoid a shorthanded goal. With 17:01 to go in the period, still 56 seconds left on this power play that has looked much less energized than Miami's first two.
Yeah, and that's the second rush that we've seen from Rappelje on the penalty kill, where he's just kind of burst by everybody, using his legs really well. And yeah, like you said, Luke, Mateo Drobak, 2 huge saves to keep the RedHawks tied in this game and obviously keep the power play going in their favor.
Smith up the wing, hands it off for Nasson. He goes down the wall, fanned on his pass to give it up to the point. Reinforcement arrives, though, as Quinn gets it on the left side. Nasson again on the left wing for Lukashevich. Center point, Quinn with a one-timer off the glove of Ruprecht, and it trickles into the corner. Nasson now top of the left circle, skates back towards the point and dumps it in. Puck is chased down in the far corner by Doug Grimes, but he can't hang on, and it's cleared out by Ferris State with 15 seconds to go on the penalty. Lukashevich back in. He wires it around the kickboard along the bottom of the boards, and the RedHawks have it on the far side. Grimes rather drags and tries to shoot it through, but that got blocked by a stick in front. As Tulane comes out of the box, maybe could have hit him on a potential breakaway if Ferris State had waited on that clear a second longer, but just wanted to make sure they killed off the penalty. Miami, meanwhile, back into the offensive zone as Grimes is pinned against Piironen, who's grinding the puck away from him on the far side. Puck springs free below the goal line for Jack Messick to hand it up the near side for Ferris State, but they turn it over. Backhand across, McEwen chases it down. Two-hand whack in front is deflected wide by Messick. Puck directed to the far corner. Hay is on it for Miami. Rowe puts a shoulder in his back and tacks him along the boards. Hay tried to swing it in front, but it came right back to him. Now he tries to step behind the net, and the puck is poked away to the far side boards. McEwen with a drive that bounced a couple times on its way to the net. It goes wide. Handed in deep by Michael Phelan, and it missed everybody. It went to the far side, where it's cleared down the ice by Rappelje, and too far for icing as Nicholas Mike in the St. Thomas transfer runs it down for the RedHawks. And see if Brett Riley calls a timeout here. His guys have been out there for a really long time, causing a little bit of confusion right now at his bench, maybe to buy his guys an extra moment.
Yeah, and Rappelje got lit up by Sean McEwen along the wall. Looked like he was kind of slow to get back to the defensive zone. Obviously tired, but I'm sure that hit took a toll on him as well. McEwen lined him up from like the center part of the offensive zone. He was gearing up for that hit.
Harris wins the faceoff and gets it out as far as center. Miami tries to give it back in the other way quickly, but it's put back where it came from. RedHawks now enter with possession as Delic tumbles over thanks to a hit by Piironen. Puck rolls to the far side where Delic gets to it first and just turns around and throws it at the net. Ruprecht reaches over the goal and snags it to freeze with 14:43 to go in the second period. And our score tied at 2.
physicality starting to ramp up once again. And, you know, if you're Miami, it's about playing smart physically. It's about making sure that you're making plays on the puck. You know, obviously, love to have big hits. You love to make the opponents pay for, you know, bad passes or an extra stick handle here or there. But it's also important to make sure that there's, you know, discipline.
D-to-D pass from below the goal line almost got deflected on net for Ferris State. Luckily, they get to it and clear out. Sent right back in by Doug Grimes. Miami applying some forecheck as Talene gives it up the far wing. It was whacked out of the air, though, by a high stick as Schleppe grabbed the puck at center ice and tried to go forward with it. And a face-off set to come back in Ferris's own zone. 14:22 to go, second period. We're still tied at 2. Miami's had early energy in the second period, and they're now out shooting Ferris State after they came in trailing slightly in the shot department. Face off on the far side of the ice. Hay with Helgeson and Smith. The backside referee is trying to get everybody in order. Everybody's cheating up a little bit on the draw. Now finally it's won by Ferris State, who have continued their face-off successes into the second period. Dumped puck down the ice, took a deflection on its way through, so no icing as Lukashevich goes back to it for Miami. Run up the ice by Smith. It's poked off his stick in Miami's zone, but no one to pounce on it for Ferris State as puck just rolls behind the Miami net. Picked up there by Lukashevich. Through center, Smith with speed. Heads to the right, Smith drags and shoots, save made. Hay with the rebound, got stuffed on the backhand. And Ruprecht's helmet came off on the break up the ice for Ferris State. So that stops play with 13:52 to go in the second period after arguably the best chance of the second period for the RedHawks.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about him as much as we probably should have, but Ryan Smith has been extremely impressive. The Quinnipiac transfer, Pendleton, New York native. You know, he's not the biggest guy, 5'10", 185, but man, he's got some hands, and his legs really, really helpful when coming to move the puck and support his teammates through the neutral zone. Saw there that he received a pass and just kind of walked through his defender, and a nice toe drag release, but obviously no goal as a result. But yeah, 34 games played, sophomore forward, only 5 points scored, but certainly doesn't look like he's only scored 5 points in his collegiate career, I can tell you that much.
RedHawks win the faceoff. Phelan walks across and shovels it to the far side, boards in deep. Giampa gets on it there for Miami. Up to the center point, McEwen with a ton of space. He shoots, save made, rebound chip just wide by Delic, as Ruprecht might have had a piece of that as well. Ferris State tries to break it out. Phelan breaks it up as McEwen pulls back on it in Miami's end. A fadeaway jump shot to lift it through center. And it comes right back to him. McEwen loses control as he tries to dance through the middle of the ice. Puck poked back Miami's direction. Phelan hits the brakes behind his own net. Steps to the right side and trying to give a short D-to-D pass. Actually, it was Morozov who was filling in back, but he had to kick it to himself. RedHawks do push it up the ice, though, as Miami gets on it. Now it's Grimes in the right circle. Threads it across. It got through some sticks to Stupka on the far side, but he fanned on the one-time attempt. And now a 1-on-3 effort. It's pulled free by Silic, but he can't get a shot away thanks to some good defensive work by the freshman Ryder Thompson. Those two still tangled up as the puck moves away to the near side. Nick Donato skates it up the boards and chips it forward for Nasson, who directs it further into the offensive zone. Grimes on the forecheck. Nasson in there as well. Puck is dragged out by Schleppe, and he plays it across for Dukovac, who enters the offensive zone for Ferris State. He hands McGrath across the ice for one of the goal scorers, Xavier Jean-Louis for Ferris State, the Montreal native. Goes back up to the point for a deflected shot in front. They score. Messick had the shot. McGrath with the deflection in front. And Ferris has retaken the lead with 12:18 to go in the middle period.
Yeah, nothing Mateo Drobek could do on that one. The puck gets deflected off the shot at the point, and it's just kind of bouncing, and then another deflection from McGrath. You know, really, really good hand-eye play right there. And yeah, Drobek was moving one way, and McGrath got a stick on it and ended up putting it top corner. So, you know, that's a tough goal if you're Miami, and if you're, you know, Drobek, nothing you can do about it.
Face-off win for the RedHawks. Quinn heads down the left side. Quinn rifles one in from the wing, and that's blockered away by Ruprecht, and now it's played through the center of the ice, but RedHawks couldn't get on it. Smith tries to direct it in front. That got stopped before it reached the goal. Puck in a long jam along the near wall. 7:42, time of the goal. McGrath from Messick and Jean-Louis. It's a 2-point night for the final of those three. Now a break the other way for Rappeljay with some speed and a one-on-one. He whips one wide. Now he gets back on the puck in the near corner and gets some help as Zary pulls it free. Zary circles behind the net, heads to the bottom of the right circle for a sharp angle shot that hit a couple of players in front and up into the netting. Best was tangled up with Ethan Hay on the edge of the goal crease for Miami, and that, I think, hit those two and maybe got Droback as well on its way out of play. Well, we've reached a timeout on the ice. RedHawks had a pretty quick answer last time they went down. They'll have to do it again after the goal on the deflection by Connor McGrath. 11:38 to go, second period. Ferris has retaken the lead. It's 3-2 Bulldogs, and you're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. .38 to go. We're in the second period. Ferris State's retaking the lead over Miami. Connor McGrath with a deflection in front to make it 3-2. Second Bulldog lead of the night. They've got a face-off in their offensive zone on the right wing. Josh Zary lines up against Ilya Morozov, the nation's youngest player on it for Miami. Face-off briefly came back for a swipe attempt by Zary in the direction of the net, but it didn't reach there, and Giampa gets to it for the RedHawks and clears out to center. Bounce back partially in by Ferris State, but the RedHawks lift it back to neutral ice. Battle for it there, and O'Coin pulls it free for Miami. Giampa down the right wing. Giampa with a spin move to get in front. Backhanded attempt and a kick save by Ruprecht. Ferris State throws it up the far side. Rolling puck just short of icing as Ryder Thompson gets to it first for the RedHawks. Shoveled up the near wing. Delic feeds through the middle for Morozov. Tried to drag through, but it was poked away by Messick. Bouncing puck into the corner. Stick splits in half. That's Morozov's as a puck battle ensues on the far side. It's won by Ferris. Puck is knocked out of the air by Phelan. That saves the RedHawks a potential rush the other direction. And Miami gets it into the offensive zone. Helgeson got twisted around. Puck is picked up by Jack Messick and directed up the near side for good. Tries to thread one through the middle. It misses everybody and goes all the way below the goal line of the RedHawk end. Miami pulls it back and feeds it through center. Walker tried to dump it in. It was broken up, but now the defenseman blew a tire. Walker steps back in with a backhand shot from the top of the circles. And a save is made with the blocker by Ruprecht. Back in the neutral zone. Some hand fighting in front of the Miami bench, and a crafty move by Smith to bank it to himself off the board. Smith playing 1-on-5 in the offensive zone. And as he tried to step to the middle, he got his stick lifted by McGrath, the latest goal scorer, who clears it out. RedHawks push back into the offensive zone. Stupka in the near corner. In a 2-on-2 battle, turns and tries to give it for Nasson beneath the goal line, but the puck gets by him. Pinch in down the left wing for Lukashevich to hold the zone. Nasson tried to wrap it in front, but he was muscled off the puck by Pirinen. Up the half wall, McGrath through the middle for Messick. He skates it diagonally across the red line and finds Schleppe, who tried to drag it to himself and just fell onto his backside. RedHawks recover the puck. Nasson wants it, gets it on the center ice end. Nasson holding, steps into the offensive zone. Stupka gets a feed and tries a shot from up high in the zone. That's deflected well high and out of play. And we get a stoppage. 3-2 Ferris State, 9:16 to go in the middle period. Miami heavily out shooting the Bulldogs now 26-18. But down to the game as faceoffs coming up on the near side of the RedHawks offensive zone.
Yeah, you know, while Miami is out shooting Ferris State, it hasn't really been because there's been a lot of quality chances. Of course, they've gotten their quality chances, but, you know, feels like there's been more of an attitude of just try and test the goaltender, get some rebounds, see if you can get guys going to the net, create some more possession. But obviously, like you said, Luke, still down in the game regardless of the shots lead.
Face-off win by the Bulldogs. It's skated around the net by Talene, and he throws it up the far side where it's deflected by a RedHawk and goes down the ice. No icing. Throw back out to play it. RedHawks break back up the ice quickly the other way into the offensive zone for Delic. He tried to throw it to the net front. That is cut off. O'Coin off his back foot just throws a wrister on from the left point. That's easily handled by Ruprecht, and he holds on. Players still separated on the far side. Talene was connected with Coach Adelic for Miami, but nothing comes between the two. 8:54 to go in the second period. Face-off coming up on the far side of the ice.
And I think one of the things that we didn't really mention about this Ferris State team, these guys are really, really big. Riley Wallach has been kind of picking fights all night. Third line center, 6'6", 245. Obviously has skill as well, but you know, if you're trying to go in front of the net, he's not a guy that you want to see down there. Same thing with Talene, 6'5", 230 pounds. So, you know, this Ferris State team is built to play against big teams, and obviously, you know, Miami isn't the biggest team either. Have some guys that are under 6 foot, as well as guys who are, you know, like Ilya Morozov, who's 6'4". But yeah, Ferris State not afraid to use their frame to make sure that everybody knows that they're out there.
Bulldogs have it in the neutral zone. It's played in softly where Zari's after it on the forecheck. There is a typical brand that this Bulldog team has had for a fair amount of time that dates back to Bob Daniels' tenure, and that's big and old, and that has continued as they're the second oldest team in the country. Drive towards the front post by Badal. He tried it from a sharp angle, hit off the side of the net, circled back on it off the rebound, and tried to feed center point for Messick, but it hopped his stick into the neutral zone. Played back in by the Bulldogs. Kyle Lecoyne throws it up the near side and just missed Smith. And it goes all the way down for icing with 7:56 remaining in the second period. And the score, Ferris State 3 and Miami 2. More seniors on this Ferris State team than any other squad in the entire nation. They've got a ton of transfers, including the bulk of which who followed their head coach from Long Island, who the RedHawks saw a couple years ago in LIU in the infancy of their program, took a game here in a series at Cady Arena, which was a shock at the time. Brent Riley did a really good job with that program. They won 20 games last year. They were the nation's best home team last season.
And nine seniors on this roster, plus a graduate student as well.
Face-off win for the RedHawks, but I believe that was played down by a Bulldog. The referees whistled icing. The Miami bench erupted, and the referees are discussing.
Like
they're calling this icing off. It's a center ice draw coming up with 7:46 remaining in the middle period. Still 3-2 Ferris State. Face-off jammed in the circle for a moment, pulled free by Casper Nasson, who skates it into the offensive zone for Miami. It's twisted across the slot by Doug Grimes, but nobody on it for the RedHawks. Phelan walks it across the point for Miami. Feeds into the corner where it was forced in front by McEwen, but directed back below the goal line by Ferris State. Behind the net, Jack Messick chases after it for the Bulldogs. He plays it up the wall, bouncing puck, gets free to center ice, but Stupka with a dive gets it back to his defenseman, and Phelan flutters it in deep. Messick hands it off, and Piran in blue attire and slide tackled Doug Grimes in the process as a 2-on-2 ensues the other way for Ferris State. McGrath sauces it to the far side for Messick. He gets pinned, thrown out in front, save made, penalty coming up on the RedHawks. Ferris State net is empty as Nasson wins a puck battle on the near side to touch up. But I believe we got a boarding call coming up against Miami's Ilya Morozov.
Morozov does not like the call.
Not entirely sure when this happened.
Happened in the offensive zone as the puck was going out. When Grimes got slide tackled, the puck came towards the near half wall, and Morozov just kind of shoved. Can't tell who the Ferris State player was, but right in the numbers. Not sure. It's hard to see on. It's hard to tell on replay just how hard it was, but looks like he kind of went in awkwardly, and Morozov got called for it.
Anthony Noreen's got his hands on his hips. He's been fairly animated on the Miami bench tonight,
yes.
A lot more so than usual. So we've reached a timeout on the ice, so 6:51 will stay here. In the second period, it's 3-2, Ferris State over Miami. RedHawks will head to RPI next weekend. They will not be back here for a while, actually, until they start the NCHC slate on Halloween night against the Arizona State Sun Devils. So essentially a full month, almost a full month on the road, 27 days between home games. Between Saturday night tomorrow and the Friday of the Arizona State series. Between that, they'll have a bye week. That comes up in 2 weeks, but also 2 road series, first at RPI, and then they'll go to St. Louis to take on Lindenwood, also under a new coaching staff this year.
The Arizona State series, they're busy right now, or they're about to be busy later tonight, taking on Gavin McKenna and Penn State. And yeah, I mean, Arizona State's going to be, they were obviously fantastic last year, but, you know, under head coach Greg Powers, it just kind of feels like they're going to be contending for the NCHC for a while.
Face-off win in the offensive zone for Ferris State. They're on the power play. Lee walks the line to the far side. Fake of a shot. It comes back to Lee's center point. Lee fakes and fires. That is partially blocked down by Ethan Hay, and the RedHawks clear it out. Lee circles back on it. Morozov 2 minutes for boarding. This is the 4th try on the power play for Ferris State. They're 1 for 3. Speed for Rappelj, but he lost the puck as he headed down the right side. RedHawks pull it out, and it's whipped down the ice by Ryder Thompson. Good start to the kill for the RedHawks as they get their second unit on. Minute 13 to go in the penalty. Speed up centrally for Nick Belpedio. He plays it to the wing where it's fired in deep by Jack Messick. Below the goal line, room to work up the far side by Justin Stupka. Just no forecheck to speak of for Ferris State. That's an easy clear for him. Best skates it diagonally across the center M. Tried to hand it off on the far side blue line, but that pass broken up. And the RedHawks head the other way, but a pass didn't connect cleanly between Stupka and Helgeson. And kind of a mini 3-on-2 for Ferris State, but not a lot of space to work with. And passing in a tight spot, it was turned over by Best. The RedHawks clear it out. 30 seconds to go on the penalty. Tipped puck into the offensive zone for Ferris State. Donato throws it dangerously, looking for a teammate in front of his net. It missed everybody, went back to the point for Ferris, where Belpedio has it on the left side. He gets eaten up by Walker, and the RedHawks take it the other direction. Hay knocks it down with a shot for the left side. It was tipped, and it hit the crossbar. And it goes up into the netting with 9 seconds to go. Hay fed it forward where Walker couldn't handle it cleanly, but then Hay jumped on it and sped up the ice. He was playing 1-on-3 and just took a toe drag shot from around the left hash. Actually took the defender who was pressing him stick out of their hand, and it hit off the crossbar.
See, I'd be curious. I don't know if that would have been called offside. I don't know if Ferris State's coaching staff would have wanted to challenge that. It looked like Aquin was, you know, it would depend on how you deem possession. You know, he didn't have it on his stick when he entered the zone as it was being poked off. But yeah, nonetheless, great shot from Ethan Hay right off the crossbar. And Ruprecht decided to go back and give his crossbar a little love after that.
Ferris State took it the other way, and they jumped off sides following that sequence, but they ran 10 seconds off the clock, and so we're back to even strength. That's a successful kill for Miami. 4:51 to go, second period. It's 3-2 Ferris. Face-off win by the Bulldogs, and Pirinen plays it in deep. Drove back out of his net to get to it for the RedHawks. He feeds Diampo, goes cross ice up the far side, pass too far behind. Coach Adelik He blows a tire. Now Zary goes the other way. Josh Zary circles in the far corner. Being worked on by Quinn, and it's taken away by the RedHawks. Quinn bangs it off the far wall where Delic directs it further into the offensive zone. Giampa pressuring on the forecheck, a trip and fall on his own legs by Talene. Could have been dangerous. Luckily, he pops back up. Puck is on the near side. Now it comes back for Talene in front, but he cannot clear momentarily. Now Ferris gets secondary support to it and bangs it the other way. In front of the bench on the right point, an attempt at a shot by Rappelj, but he got stood up by Grimes, who takes it diagonally up the right side. Grimes tried to hand it for Phelan, but that puck was poked away. Threaded pass through center, missed best though, and the RedHawks step it back into the offensive zone. Grimes in the circle, throws it across, nobody in front for Miami. Phelan pinches in down the right side to keep the puck deep. Grimes works on it, pushes his man off the puck. Smith comes in to recover, throws it in front. It took the stick out of the hand of Warwick, but did not find anybody on the near side. Puck back on the far wing. Smith tried to just turn and shoot from the left side, and he got walled by Rappelj as the puck comes back out to neutral ice. Helgeson turns and jams it in the offensive zone, but it was deflected and ends up in the seats. Got a linesman, that's Cade Blessing, that got tied up with Logan Haru, and he took a tumble in front of the Miami bench, but just a neutral zone faceoff coming up with 3:17 to go in the middle period. Still Ferris State by a goal.
Yeah, Miami's found a little bit of their footing, but still kind of looking for that really hard puck possession. I'm not sure that I love that shot from Ryan Smith. I mean, I know what he's trying to do. He had traffic in front. It's not the worst idea in the world, but at that point, Riley Wallach had just picked up his stick, and he was clearly tired, as he wasn't even trying to defend Smith coming off the wall, and instead of trying to make an extra pass or even like dumping it low, Smith turns and just fires it right into him, and that's a big frame that's going to eat that puck. And if you're Anthony Noreen and his coaching staff, probably don't love that play, as it kind of ruined any chance at offensive possession.
Puck skitters back to Miami's end. RedHawks chase back to it. Thompson plays it up the far wall. That was deflected, but by a RedHawk, the officials deem in on goal, and Walker gave a big shove to Belpedio, who got flipped over in front of the net as Ruprecht came out and covered that puck.
He's a wrecking ball, man. He's a wrecking ball. Just all gas, no brakes. There was no way that he wasn't running into Belpedio there.
I think he might have got a penalty, though.
Yep, he sure did. Charging
call against Bradley Walker.
And look, this is, once again, it's how do you be physical and how do you be smart at the same time? Like there is a difference when it comes to physicality. You can be smart physically, you can make plays on the puck, you can, go to the edge of the crease and not run a guy over, because it's well after the play. Obviously referees aren't going to love that. Obviously Bradley Walker has a role, and he plays to his strengths, and his strength is his physicality. But that's just a play that you can't have, and obviously, that's a first college game mistake right there that you can't make, and you're losing the game by a goal, and now you're down a man.
Face-off win for the Bulldogs, and Rappelj just barely holds the zone and now sends a shot through that is tipped in front, but high into the left corner glass. Zary back to the far side for Rappelj. Back down low for Zary. Feet on the NCHC logo behind the goal. He plays it up to the point for McGrath. Now Lee, center point. Handles to the near side for Rappelj. Rappelj drags and shoots. Hit off a RedHawks stick.
My goodness.
And skittered to the back door perfectly, but McGrath could not get a shot. Tucked in the right post, and the RedHawks clear.
I think he fanned on that. He's going to want that one back, as that was sitting right there, and drove back stretch as far as he could. Not sure we could, from our vantage point, couldn't see where that left leg was relative to where the puck was. But yeah, had he not fanned on that, rolling puck too doesn't help anything. But yeah, probably going to want that one back.
Skated through the center of the ice by Max Dukovac. Backhand saucer for Best on the near wing. In the offensive zone, center point Belpedio hands it off left side for Best. Back on the left wall for Belpedio. Tried to throw it across. It was smothered by Thompson, being poked at in front. And the puck is covered up initially by Droback. Whistle blows as the puck flies out of the pile into the left corner. But the whistle was already blown. Minute 39 to go in the period. 51 seconds left on the penalty to Bradley Walker. It's 3-2 Ferris State. And some stern orders from referee Andrew Wilk to the folks poking at that puck in front.
Yeah, just a cross-ice pass attempt from Belpedio. Not sure who he was looking for in front. Looks like it was Tyler Schleppe just kind of sitting back door, and Ryder Thompson put a knee down, but the puck stayed in his, like under his, kind of under his skate and his shin pad, and he just kind of backed into Droback, and Droback just stuck a blocker over it. But yeah, like you said, a little extracurricular activity from Belpedio and the other Miami guys in front as well.
RedHawks win the faceoff and clear. Back up the ice come the Bulldogs, and Messick dumps it in. It takes a glance off the stanchion, though, and pops in front of Miami's net, but there are 3 RedHawks there to drive it down the ice. 21 seconds left on the minor penalty to Walker. Minute 6 to go in the period. Ferris State leading by a goal. This is their 5th try on the power play. Best had it, the puck poke checked away as he crossed the blue line. RedHawks get it 5 feet out of the zone where Belpedio stepped back in with it, but lost possession immediately, and the RedHawks clear out. Morozov now in a hard forecheck. He wins possession as time expires on the Walker penalty, and Morozov dumps it in.
That's one of those things that Anthony Noreen has talked about, Ilya Morozov being so good at, just using his body, using leverage to make sure that he gets the puck in his frame, and doesn't make a super fancy play, but able to just make a play down in the offensive zone and get a change, and Bradley Walker is able to come out of the box without any worries about the puck coming the other way.
23 seconds to go in the period. A coin shovels it through center. Grimes off the far wall for Nassen, who plays it in deep for Miami. 15 seconds to go in the period. Wrapped around to the near side. Smith gets to it for the RedHawks, and Smith gets crunched along the near wall by Talene. Talene now has it in front of the Bulldog net, and he reaches to poke it up the far side, where it is played all the way down the ice by Silic. He was just short of the red. They call icing, but there's only a half a second remaining on the clock. Droback's getting ready to come out of his net. And we'll see if Miami
I wonder if they're going to look for more
here.
time on the clock.
Yeah, the RedHawks, that is what Anthony Noreen is asking for. In real time, I really don't know if there's much more left on the clock. And actually this...
They're not going to call it.
Icing is
interesting
overturned, so it doesn't really matter anyway. They're going to do the draw at center ice, and then no point to look at the clock again. They just drop the puck. RedHawks get a statistical face-off win, but time expires immediately, and the period is over. Well, Ferris State gets the lone goal of the middle period, and the Bulldogs on the road to open the season have the lead as we go to the third, as it's 3-2. Again, the energy has come in spurts for this Miami team, but we haven't seen them put together 2 to 3 consistent shifts and since arguably maybe the first 5 minutes of the game. For the RedHawks, you lost a player earlier on in David Deputy, who's a crucial part of that second line, but just haven't seen a whole ton of jump. You're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall right now in that second period, and not a lot stuck.
Yeah, and when you talk about the first 5 minutes of this game, it was a lot of connection. These guys were, it looked like they were playing with some swagger, playing with, you've got a great home crowd here. You come out, first game of the season against a non-conference opponent, Ferris State, who's going to be a tough opponent regardless. But, they're making spin passes off the wall, tape to tape. Obviously, one of the goals, Lukashevich, is a perfect pass off the wall to Giampa. It just felt very connected. And right now, it's just kind of not discombobulated. That feels a little bit extreme. But, like you said, just kind of throwing stuff at the net, throwing stuff off the wall, hoping that a puck gets there instead of, maybe putting yourself in the position to be where the puck goes, at the end of the day. So, we'll see what this next 20, or the final 20 minutes, I should say, brings for these RedHawks. But yeah, putting a couple shifts together is going to be really important, especially early on in this period, to try and get some momentum.
No doubt. As we go to the third, our score, Ferris State 3 and Miami 2. Second intermission coming up on the other side of the break. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio.
You're listening to Red Hawk Radio, and I'm Will Salzarulo for your second intermission update of the night. Now, only one goal in the second period, and that was by Connor Grath of Ferris State, even strength. He was assisted by Jack Messick and Javier Jean-Louis. I apologize for the mix-up last period when I said it was Jean-Louis. Anyways, only 3 penalties when compared to the 5 of the first period. Ferris State with an intermission. Ferris State with an interface penalty, and Miami with a boarding and charging penalty. That is supposed to be all right. Shots on net for Miami. 16 shots on net for Miami in the second period, with Ferris State at 9. Not a lot, much left to say. Pretty even strength, with the hat tipped in favor of Ferris State, getting that extra goal halfway through the period. So in conclusion, Miami 2, Ferris State 3. Now other matchups in the NCHC. Augustana at St. Cloud. The score is 1-1. Air Force at Omaha. That is 1-0 Omaha. Now later tonight, UConn at Colorado College, Penn State at Arizona State, and Minnesota Duluth at Alaska Fairbanks. Final score for the second period, 3-2 Ferris State. You were listening to Red Hawk Radio. Puck drop is in approximately 6 minutes. I've been Will Salzarulo, and this has been your second intermission update. Please continue listening to Red Hawk Radio. Thank you.
Third period on deck here from Oxford with the score, Ferris State 3 and Miami 2. Alongside Jeff Middleton, I'm Luke West-Poley. Glad you could join us for opening night. Ferris State scores the only goal of the second period. The Bulldogs lead as we go to the third. We start off even strength, unlike what we did in the second period. But for Miami, just not quite as crisp in that second period as the first, and it showed.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we've seen even earlier in this game what they can do when they're able to be connected, get on the same page, I should say. You know, that first line, even the third line, Nasa and Stupka, Grimes, were really, really good at cycling the puck, figuring out where everybody was, spacing-wise, entries, exits. It was all really good. But then, you know, I think as Ferris State ramps up the physicality, Miami wants to obviously match that, but it does kind of take away from part of their game. And so now we're going to see, as this third period begins, kind of what the tone looks like from both of these squads.
We are underway in the third. RedHawks in the white uniforms, they go right to left. Ferris State in the Road Reds, they go left to right. Miami got it in the offensive zone briefly. Puck came back the other way. Ryder Thompson got blasted in the corner of his own defensive zone, but the RedHawks do get rid of it at least to center. Morozov tries to thread it forward for Delic, but he missed him just too far out in front. And the Bulldogs take it the other way. Max Dukovac down the left side, slips and falls, but dumps it in. Light forecheck applied by Rappel-J as Kyle LeCoyne heads behind. He almost lost the puck in front of his own net, and that forced a pass to the far side to be a little bit rushed. And the RedHawks give it away. Best on the near side, tries to shovel it down low. Morozov turns it over. Puck comes out in front for a shot, and the save was made.
Wow.
As Drobak came out and stoned Gavin Best from 10 feet away.
So that whole play started because Kyle LeCoyne lost his stick. It got caught up in a one-on-one battle, and it shot out to the neutral zone, and then his man just went straight to the front of the net, and as he should have. And, you know, LeCoyne can't do anything to block the puck with his stick if he doesn't have it. And, yeah, Drobak just kind of, I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, he was still standing when that puck ended. It went right into the center of his jersey, but, yeah, it was kind of standing in the crease and shot it right into him, and then he just kind of fell over after the whistle was blown. So, you know, obviously fortunate for the RedHawks. Drobak, another really big save.
RedHawks attempting to clear. Puck is chipped into the neutral zone thanks to a one-hand effort by Kasper Nassen. Skated back in immediately, though, by Radal. In a one-on-two, he wrists one on that's blockered away by Drobak. Sent in front by Ferris State. It finds the RedHawks first, though, in Grimes, who plays it centrally for Nassen, skating straight down the middle of the ice. Nassen now plays it along the end boards. Vidal plays it behind his cage. Around the near side, Nick Belpedio comes up the ice with speed. Plays it into the offensive zone. Phelan, two-hand, chops it up the far boards for the RedHawks. Puck spun through center, too far in front for the RedHawks to get a rush going as Ryan Smith chased after it. Ferris State taking it back the other way. It dragged into the offensive zone by Rowe, but he got jumped on his way to that puck, and the RedHawks take it the other direction. Bullet pass from Phelan. He was looking for Ethan Hay in the near side, but it passed him. Ferris State takes it and clears down. 17:40 to go, final period of regulation. It's 3-2 Ferris State. Hay deflects puck through center into the offensive zone. RedHawks chase after it. Dukovac tries to spin it around the far side. And he knocked it with his hand further along the boards where Schleppe played it. So that stops play. And the face-off comes deep into Ferris State zone. It'll be conducted on the far side of the ice as 17:28 to go in the third, and the Bulldogs up a goal.
Once again, just passes through the neutral zone. Passes in the offensive zone. It's just not quite there in terms of flow. It's you know, a little bit outward or a little bit behind. It's just not as tape to tape as it was earlier in this game. Ilya Morozov is not happy. Tyler Schleppe is arguing that Schleppe in the dot is kind of maybe taking a little bit more space than he's allowed, but nonetheless, Miami won the faceoff.
RedHawks, though, couldn't hold the zone, and so it comes all the way back to Miami's end, where McGrath pokes it in deep, and Schleppe gets to it for Ferris State. He throws it across the ice for a one-time by McGrath. Left pad save, by Drobak. Thompson pins his man in the far corner. Schleppy's there. He gets tacked by a coin. Puck comes to the near side now where it's kicked free by Coach Adelic. RedHawks send it up the far side off a bank. A pass that was maybe intended for Mateo Giampa, but really not close to him. It goes all the way down, and it's icing with 16:48 to go in the third. Bulldogs elect to take the draw on the far side of the ice.
And look, this is, we talked about it before the game, but this is a team with obviously 21 new guys, a fresh slate, but it's also a team of guys who maybe haven't played with each other. And, obviously training camp and playing against each other and playing with each other in that kind of setting is different than playing games against other teams. And, right now we saw glimpses of what the coaching staff wants it to be, but there's also, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows. And right now, Miami's kind of looking for a way to just get back on their horse and create some momentum.
RedHawks forechecking. Giampa got turned over, and a penalty coming up as Giampa got hit in the face with a stick. He got his stick lifted, and then the stick lift went a little too far for Josh Zary, and he's the guilty party.
There are some people that say you shouldn't have to wear cages in college hockey, and that's one of the reasons why I think it's still a good thing. Obviously, other than the classic college hockey look of the cage and I guess the bubble too. Respect to all the bubble users out there.
So Giampa wore that one up high. He is not a bubble user. He's a cage guy, but that cage probably kept a couple teeth in his mouth as it's a high sticking call on Josh Zary. Face-off coming up on the far side of the ice. Miami's 1 for 4 in the power play this evening. They're down a goal with 16:20 to play. And the RedHawks win the draw. Quinn walks it to the center point, gives to the far side for Lukashevich. Drags, he shoots. It's blocked by Messick. Puck comes to the far wall. Lukashevich sealing it there, but it springs free to the middle of the ice, and Pirinen softly plays it down the rink. Quinn shovels it forward, bouncing puck, couldn't be handled by two RedHawks, and it's dumped back in by Riley Wallach.
Rapplejet is just a fiend on the penalty kill. I think every single time he's been on the ice for the penalty kill, he's had one break where he's just been full speed and really forced Miami to make a different play than they might want to.
Miami back in the offensive zone setup. Kasper Nassen in the left circle, back center point for Quinn. He shoots, and a glove save by Ruprecht, who hangs on. Minute 12 to go on the penalty, 15:31 to go in regulation. Still 3-2 Ferris State. Miami out shooting the Bulldogs 29-25 as they bring the top unit onto the ice with Delic, Giampa, Thompson, and Morozov, along with Ethan Hay.
And Doug Grimes is not happy that he didn't get a tip on that shot from Michael Quinn from the point. Kind of screaming and talking to himself, going to the bench, but
puck jammed up along the near side boards. There's 3 players in this puck battle for each team as time continues to bleed off the penalty clock. Hay plays it out in front for a shot by Delic, and a save made by Ruprecht. And just barely, that puck almost off the initial save, rolled over his right leg, but he stays with it, and I don't know how Ethan Hay got that pass through.
Yeah, I was going to say, through traffic, I don't think Ethan Hay, or I should say, I don't think Coach Adelic got all of the shot that he wanted, but yeah, Ethan Hay comes out of the puck battle on this near half wall in the offensive zone and just, forces it through his man. A great pass, a great look. That's the kind of plays that they're looking to make. Obviously, it's a little easier on the power play because you have more space, but that kind of stuff is exactly what they're looking for to create some momentum and create some offensive chances.
RedHawks win the faceoff. 45 seconds to go in the penalty. Thompson for Delic on the far side. He banks it back on the near wing for Thompson. Back across Delic, right point. Thompson in the middle, near side. Giampa with a one-timer. That's blocked with a skate by Jean-Louis. Wrapped around the far side. Delic hustling after it, but can't hold the zone as Best hurried him along. RedHawks quickly break back to the offensive end. Giampa poked off the puck. Hay tried to shovel it back to his defense, but Jean-Louis poked it into the protective netting. Whistle with 17 seconds left in the Miami power play. 14:36 to go in regulation as Miami switches units, and they're still down a goal.
Yeah, and this has probably been, it's probably been their worst power play of the game so far, but at the same time, it still hasn't looked bad. I mean, the puck movement's been pretty solid, missed pass here or there, but it is encouraging. Obviously, it's only the first game of the season, and it's encouraging seeing this from like we've talked about, Miami special teams that frankly was not very good last season.
Nassen throws it through the middle. He was looking for a tip, but it jumped over the stick of Helgeson. Now it comes back in front. Nassen with a one-timer. He scores! Broken play, and the RedHawks just fed it right back in front for Casper Nassen, who showed off that rocket of a shot. They had a lot of words for the Ferris State bench on their way by as the RedHawks have tied the game with 14:17 to play.
These guys are fired up. Doug Grimes grabs the logo of his jersey, points to the student section with it. Man, these guys, obviously we've talked about this with Anthony Noreen a lot. They're going to be competitive. They want to win games. They brought in a bunch of leaders from different teams, from their previous teams, I should say. Because he said, I believe it was something along the lines of, at the end of the day, they don't want to be outcompeted by the guy sitting next to them, let alone the team across from them. So, you can see it. You can see how much emotion these guys are playing with right now. Obviously, you need to play smart still. Still a tie game. You need another goal if you want to take the lead, but that's a huge momentum swing. And obviously, like you said, that Casper Nassen shot, the patented wrister from the left side, makes its debut in 2025-26.
Goal by Nassen, assist to Grimes and Helgeson at 5:43 of the third period. Ferris State jumps off sides coming off the center ice draw. We're at the 13:58 mark of the third, a new hockey game as we are tied. Talene throws it in off the far side glass. Ferris State into the offensive end. And the Bulldogs work it free. It's played to the middle of the ice for a one-timer by McGrath, gobbled up by Drobak. But one thing you can say about this Ferris State team is the few times they've been scored on, they have had an excellent following shift.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's a huge save from Drobak right there. Obviously right into his chest, but at the same time, it's a man sitting wide open in the slot, and he just gets the puck and fires it. And Miami obviously gets momentum from that power play goal, but you got to continue it. That has been part of the problem tonight is, while yes, they've had some really solid stretches and they've been able to score these goals when they've needed them, there's also been that response from Ferris State, like you mentioned, and Miami just kind of hasn't been able to put two shifts together after they've been able to get a goal.
RedHawks clear the zone. Morozov at neutral ice, throws it through the center. It kicked off the stick of Grimes, back for Morozov to the far side for a shot by Delic. Save, rebound Morozov, he stood up by Ruprecht. RedHawks still have it. Lukashevich with a nice sidestep on the right side. Back for Morozov at the point, he steps by his man. Morozov continues to walk down the boards and pokes it behind the net looking for Giampa. Cut off before it could reach him. RedHawks still with it though. And a quick turn shot by Donato. That skitters well wide. Giampa tried to escape, but lost possession of the puck. Ferris State can't clear, though, and Lukashevich and Delic play it further into the offensive zone. Another clearing attempt, this time knocked out of the air. It was thrown in front by Giampa, but that is knocked away by Talene, and Ferris State plays it down to finish up their change.
That's exactly the shift that they were missing earlier.
Silic with a break down the right side for the Bulldogs. His shot in is saved with a stick by Drobak. The RedHawks golf it back to neutral ice. Silic threads it through for Vidal, and he risks one right into the breadbasket of Drobak, who freezes with 12:28 to go in the third period. Miami with another answer, and it's Casper Nassen on the score sheet, the second returning RedHawk to score tonight to tie the game at 3. With 12:28 to go in the third period, we've reached a timeout on the ice. Ferris State 3, Miami 3, our score, and you're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. Tie hockey game at 3, 12:28 remaining in the third period. Miami scores thanks to Casper Nossen on a trademark one-timer. The RedHawks have evened the game in the third. Offensive zone face-off, though, won by the Bulldogs. RedHawks, though, pull it free, and Helgeson, with some help from Kyle LeCoyne, get it out. Now Hay tearing down the left side, steps further left, and laces it off the corner boards, where it's pulled free by Helgeson. Up to the left point, Thompson. Across the ice, a coin, a shot right into shin pads as he got stopped by Silic. Ferris State clears this all the way down the ice. And this is icing of the Bulldogs. 2 seconds past the 8-minute mark. We're still tied at 3.
And you can tell that, you know, when Miami's generating momentum, they're getting first to pucks, they're winning these battles, they're playing physical, but, you know, it's less about the hits and more about using your body and leveraging your opponent to try and get the puck away from them and even to just open space where a guy can go chase it down. And, you know, obviously they're also in the offensive zone, able to use their points, a couple good passes up to the defenseman, and that's, you know, that makes a huge difference.
Giampa off the face-off, throws one high. Delic behind the net, on it for Miami. Delic pulls it away from two defenders with one hand, throws it in front.
Wow.
Giampa whacked it out of the air, but it did not go towards the net. It went instead towards the far corner where it's taken out of the zone by Silic.
I don't think I've seen that before. That's pretty great.
That is some serious strength from the freshman, Coach Delic, who now backhands it into the offensive zone for Miami. Giampa steps it free, and Delic gives it back to him. A pass up top is off the stick of the crashing RedHawk. McEwen break the other way for Zeri. He throws it to the far side where a shot comes in for the far corner, and Gavin Best got turned away with the shoulder as the RedHawks break the other direction. Grimes throws it across the slot, nobody home. McEwen steps back on it and fires in. He got pounded as that shot went high and wide. Nassen throws it around the wall. Grimes skating behind the net. Up to the right point. A shot deflects high and wide from Phelan. It deflects right in front into the slot where the RedHawks score. It's Justin Stupka on it for Miami.
What a shift from this third line. They've been fantastic all night. Casper Nossen makes a great play down low. And Doug Grimes, the big body Boston University transfer, makes a fantastic play. Justin Stupka just goes to the net. It looked like Ruprecht had it, and obviously you play till the whistle. Stupka just slaps the pads of Ruprecht, and it goes in through the 5-hole. Great shot from Grimes in the slot, and just a textbook shift from those three. Really, really been fantastic tonight.
First career goal for the freshman from New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, Justin Stupka, and it lifts Miami in front 4-3. Assist goes to Doug Grimes as Ferris State clears this down the far side of the ice, and Thompson tags it up for icing. 10:34 remaining in the third period, and Miami leads for the first time since 1-0. Grimes stepped in between the hashes and just kind of whacked a puck on the ice that came up on Ruprecht, but like you said, it was just the second effort. The puck rolled between his legs, leaked down to the ice, and Stupka wasted no time as the RedHawks jump back in front.
Yeah, that's Grimes' second assist of the night, and he's absolutely deserved those 2 assists. He's, you know, arguably been Miami's best player tonight. At the very least, been a guy that Anthony Noreen can rely on to generate momentum, play physical, but also be able to make those skill plays, you know, sit down in the between the hash marks and fire one on net, make sure it gets through and not into shin pads.
RedHawks pursuing in the offensive zone as it's chopped out to neutral ice by Ferris State. Fired across the ice as we approach the midway mark of the third period. The RedHawks lead. A pass misses good on the near side and goes all the way down for icing against the Bulldogs. And you can just feel that renewed energy that
absolutely
was here in the first 5 minutes of the game and then kind of slowly gas leaked out of the building. It's back now.
And I think that's
that's what
Ferris State's good at, is just playing a game that's going to maybe not bore the crowd, but obviously you're playing physical. They're not going to outskill a lot of teams, but man, they can really just grind you down, and we saw that especially through the second period. But Miami's been able to, kind of build those shifts consistently and, create offense for themselves and create chances. Obviously, 35 shots is a great total, and, they're getting rewarded for it.
Miami works it into the offensive end. Coach Adelic has it on the far half wall. He wraps it in deep, looking for Morozov, who lifts the stick of his man. That allowed Mateo Giampa to get after it, but he was torn off the puck by McGrath, who flutters it to center. Max Dukovac backhands it through the middle into the offensive zone for Ferris State. They've got one forechecker, a massive hit and a penalty coming up as behind the Miami goal, Michael Phelan got absolutely lit up, and the arm of the official immediately went to the air.
First man over there to Wallach is Doug Grimes, of course.
He gets waved off by the linesman
Yep.
after saying some words. Wallach is into the box. The question is for how long. We have to get another look at this.
It didn't look egregious or anything. It's just, the frame of the two players is very different. 6'6", 245 running into 5'11", 175 is going to look bad, especially at that speed. And, Phelan did have his...
It's a charging call against...
It didn't look like a boarding call, but he did go in really hard.
Yeah, against Riley Wallach. And anytime you get a charging call, the penalized side tends to just argue that it's penalizing a very hard hit, which that certainly was. And in all honesty, looking at the replay, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot more that Wallach could have done. I mean, he glides from the bottom of the circle all the way to the end wall before he laid the hit on Phelan. And that's a difficult break for this Ferris State team. They're going to take a look at this. Miami's going to challenge this for a potential major.
I don't know about that.
There was a little bit, it's hard to see in real time, I will say. There's a little bit of kind of a finish towards the end of the hit that maybe went up to the head of Phelan, but again, he's 5'11".
Yeah, I mean, you can't keep your elbow.
That's just more of a frame thing, and again, we got a really good look at it right here, just looking at the TV feed, and there's not a ton of contact. You can kind of understand this from the Miami standpoint that I think they're trying to go for the kill shot here and just get a 5-minute penalty and wear this Ferris team to the ground. But I'm just, again, we're not sure that there's really a ton there to even warrant a 2-minute penalty, let alone a 5. We'll see what this officiating crew thinks, though. This is a pretty fast look.
Yeah, and it's tough because Phelan, not only, he wasn't straight up to Wallach when he was coming in, he was kind of turning away, which does make the contact obviously a little bit more awkward. But yeah, we're going to get our call here, and no major, and that's not really a surprise.
So Miami loses their timeout as a result. Again, this is different than the NHL rules, no penalties, so especially while you're leading, not a terrible idea from the Miami bench. Again, it's just that on the Ferris State side, you can certainly understand them pleading that shouldn't have even been a penalty at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it sends Miami to their 5th power play of the night. They're 1 for 5. And again, the last power play you said was probably their worst, but they still generated chances. I mean, that's
still ended up with a goal.
The type of special teams they've had tonight.
Or I guess it didn't. It wasn't technically a goal, but
yeah, it came right after
generated
the expiration of the power play. Not technically a power play goal, but a power play goal in spirit.
Yeah.
Face-off, sticks next to the face-off dot for a second, and who else but Rappelj to pull it out and race down the near side. Rappelj tried the shot, and it was poked off his stick by Ryder Thompson. And so no shot there as that puck harmlessly ends up along the end wall. Miami resets through the neutral zone. Morozov to the far side for Delic. He pokes it along for Ethan Hay. Wrapped around to the near half wall for Giampa. Giampa pinned against the boards. Couple Red Hawk reinforcements arrive. It gets behind all of them up the boards for Best, who smokes it down the ice for Ferris State. 8:27 to go, third period. It's 4-3 Miami. Red Hawks on the man advantage for another minute 16. Lukashevich, the Michigan State transfer, down the right side for Miami. Dump in, rings the near boards. Ends up on the stick of Lee for Ferris State, who plays it across the way for Jean-Louis. He clears it as far as the center red line. Red Hawks, though, play it further back, which allows Ferris to finish up their change as Miami wants to regroup this in their own zone. Doug Grimes heads down the right side, dances through one, sends a shot in that hits off the left pad of Ruprecht. Nasson tries to bank it further into the zone, but that gets stopped at the half wall, and Ferris State clears partway out on the RedHawks' attempt to get it back the other way. The pass missed Smith, and that allows Ferris another clear. 23 seconds to go in the power play. And here is Smith. Steps into the offensive zone, finds Lukashevich, pass between a couple legs, ping-pong through the center of the ice. And it found the stick of Jack Messick, who cleared out for Ferris State. 2-on-3 the other way for Miami after the clearance, but Smith got tangled up by Messick as he crossed the blue line and couldn't get in. Wallach's out of the ice, he's a free man. That was a pretty easy-looking kill for the Bulldogs, their best of the night for sure. McEwen back on it. We're under 7 minutes to play, and McEwen gives it away. Schleppy down the right side, forced out wide by McEwen. Now the reinforcements arrive for both teams, and the RedHawks win possession as it's twirled up the ice by Walker. But he loses it at center, and it's lifted back in by Nick Belpedia. Below the goal line, it's Walker. Saucer pass up the far wall. Stupko wanted to feed up ahead from Nicholas Mikan, but it was too far in front of him and ends up down for icing. With 6:29 to go in the third period, and this is a moment where you would have liked to have that timeout as your lines are a little bit scrambled and you're coming off some special teams play, but Miami's got to stay out there to take this D-zone draw. They're up 4-3 with 6.5 to play.
Yeah, Josh Zary, who has won, I guess, going into the third period, almost 82% of his faceoffs. Won that one again, or won that one there as well, but luckily nothing came of it for Miami's sake.
RedHawks cleared it out pretty quickly and now have possession, regrouping in their own end. Thompson up ahead. Morozov plays it further into the Ferris State zone. Best through the middle of the ice. It's deflected. Silic through the middle. Thompson lifts his stick to prevent the breakaway as Silic was just poking through the center of the ice, and Thompson recovers. Still alive for Ferris State. Shot by Best off the shoulder of Drobak. And there was a chance to maybe whack that out of the air, but it ends up on the stick of a RedHawk who clears it out, and now Messick relaxes at center ice.
Yeah, Ryder Thompson's broken up a couple plays like that tonight. Really, really strong first showing from the Manitoba freshman.
RedHawks break it up on the far side of the ice. Morozov tried to play it right at the blue line to Grimes, but it was tipped back to him, and that puck never fully crossed the blue line when it came back to Morozov, so he carried it in offside, and that brings us to a timeout on the ice. 5:27 remaining in the third period, and our score, Miami 4 and Ferris State 3. An exciting finish coming up from Cady Arena on the other side of the break. You're listening to Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. 5:27 to play. Miami's come from behind to lead it 4-3 over Ferris State. Neutral zone draw coming up, even strength. Far side of the ice, and the faceoff is won by Miami. That's been an area of difficulty tonight, but the RedHawks win the faceoff. Ferris State, though, takes possession off of it, and it's Dukovac down the right wing. The former RedHawk goes up top right point. Messick with a shot. That got smothered by Nick Mikan, who blocks it. Ends up in the corner where Miami can't clear. Messick holds it in along the right point. Bulldog blue attire in front. Dukovac, meanwhile, skates it across the blue line. Gives to the left point for a shot. Now a second on a rebound. The initial shot came in from Pirinen. And a second effort from McGrath, but both were stopped by Mateo Drobak.
Well, that's
Scramble out near the
wow.
bench after a clearance for Ferris State. And, the RedHawks get maybe a makeup there as no too many men was called, but then a RedHawk went down in the corner, and that's a very light trip that's whistled against Jack Messick. And the RedHawks go back to the power play with 4:38 remaining, and again, a chance to really get your foot on the gas here as Miami gets set for their 6th power play of the night.
Yeah, I'll have to watch this replay back, but I'm shocked that there wasn't too many men.
The referee on the near side of the ice, that was Andrew Wilk, was signaling to the Miami bench that there were 4 players on the ice at the time for Ferris State. They were caught in the middle of a change, which anytime somebody touches it directly off the bench like that, you kind of just assume that there's 6 guys out there, but there may or may not have actually been 6 guys. We'll never know.
I would say I think there was, but I can't count them all because one of them was out of frame. But regardless, Miami goes to the power play and gets another chance to maybe add an insurance goal here.
Lukashevich fed it to the front, but Smith fanned on the shot from the right circle, and Ferris skates it back out. Wallach all the way into the RedHawk end, fighting against 3 RedHawks. Finally, it's pulled away from him by Ryan Smith. Michael Quinn hands it off for Smith just inside the blue line. Gonna whistle an offside call, and that may have benefited the RedHawks as Ferris had just earned possession of the puck after that offside touch, and we're getting ready to clear that down for probably another 20 seconds off the power play time. 4:12 to go in the third period, minute 34 left in the power play. It's 4-3 RedHawks. Neutral zone draw coming up on the far side of the ice. Face-off just sits at the dot for a long time, and finally it is taken out by Gavin Best, who clears it down for the Bulldogs. Delic down the left alley, plays it through the middle, it gets a bounce to Grimes, throws it across the grain, but he couldn't find Morozov as Ruprecht was caught completely out of his net towards the far side, but Miami can't connect on the pass. Delic back into the offensive zone. Works it to the far half wall. Delic drags, shoots it on the ice, save made. Giampa with a shovel pass, he scores! Couldn't tell if Giampa was trying to give that to the back door or just jam that on net, but it tipped up over top of Ruprecht and ends up in the back of the net. And Mateo Giampa picks up his 2nd goal of the night to make it 5-3 RedHawks.
And there's that insurance goal, but I think a lot of people were questioning why Giampa passed the puck behind him when Ruprecht was way out of the net, and obviously I think Giampa just didn't see an angle to shoot, so he tried to find the man behind him, and like you said, it was Morozov, but the pass was just too far behind Morozov himself, and doesn't matter now as Giampa is rewarded with his 2nd goal of the night. He's been fantastic all game pretty much.
The Canisius transfer, who is as prolific a goal scorer alongside Max Helgeson at the Division I level as anybody on this Miami roster.
Yeah.
That is his 28th career goal in Division I after a couple years at Canisius. Now it is desperation time for Ferris State, who take it the other way, and a backhand shot and goal from Emerson Good. Drobak just wasn't lined up with the right angle, and Emerson Good makes him pay as Ferris State claws a goal back, and now it's 5-4 with 3:01 to go.
And we've talked all night about the response from these Bulldogs, and I don't think there's a better example of that response. Just a sweet, slick backhander from the near side faceoff circle, and like you said, Droback wasn't lined up. You know, that's one he's going to want back, as obviously no traffic as it was a shot off the rush, but I mean, just how important is that goal from Giampa now?
So that keeps the RedHawks in front as it's now 5-4 with under 3 minutes to play. Puck is rounded on the near side boards by Phelan, but missed his target, and Helgeson goes down for icing on the RedHawks with 2:44 to play. We talked about it earlier on. Shifts after goals have been huge for this Ferris State team, and they keep it a hockey game with under 3 minutes to go. Emerson on the goal, Rowe on the assist for the Bulldogs. On the latest Miami goal, Giampa on the power play from Delic and Thompson. Miami goal at 16:23. The Ferris State goal just 37 seconds later at 16:59. RedHawks do get it out off the faceoff. Helgeson racing after it, but Lee prevents him from getting there. Lee circles his own net, looks on the far side, and banks it behind his own goal for Jack Messick. Messick through the middle of the ice for Schleppe. Schleppe sweeps it into the offensive zone. Goaltender started to leave for Ferris State, and Brett Riley was saying, no, 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 go back in on the Bulldog bench as Miami takes it and clears out. Some missed signals from Ruprecht, who left a little bit early there, but as we approach the 2-minute mark on the next rush, he will likely be out. He's starting to creep as the Bulldogs head down the right side. Best got taken down, but no penalty call as Miami grabs it and floats it back out to the middle of the ice. Messick on the regroup. Minute 52 to play. Miami up by a goal. Best skating down the left side. There goes Ruprecht. Best circles the Miami net. Best in the near corner, banks up top for Messick on the right point. Messick waits, feeds on the far side for Belpedio. Back for Messick, center point. Now to the near side for Gavin Best. The Ferris captain shoots, and it's off the skate of Kokna Delic.
What a play. What a play.
Delic kicks it up into the protective netting. And with a minute 33 to play, we get a stoppage. And the whiteboard coming out on the Ferris State bench. I think Brett Riley's getting ready to call timeout. There's the call, and we get an extended stoppage. That is a huge block from Coach Delic.
And man, Coach, he's been around the puck all night, but those kind of plays, that's why he was brought here. That's why Anthony Noreen made sure that he came here out of the Canadian leagues. Is that kind of stuff is super important. It's tangible, but it's tangible there, but that's the attitude that he wants out of every single player on this roster. And the fact that, you know, it is his first line out there playing defense in the most important part of the game. You know, you don't really expect a lot of skill players to be out there as much as you would maybe guys who are on the third line, bigger guys who can block shots. But, you know, having a guy like Ilya Morozov, obviously big frame, 6'3" freshman, Mateo Giampa, experienced, and obviously he's looking for a hat trick right now. But yeah, Coach Delic, that's a standout play, and that's exactly the kind of culture, the kind of stuff on the ice that this coaching staff is looking for while trying to turn this program around.
Minute 33 to go in the third period. Coming out of the timeout for Ferris State, Schleppe to take the draw. And he gets the boot. Wow.
That was quick.
So the Bulldogs bring in Riley Wallach instead to take the faceoff, who is also a natural centerman, and he wins it. Lee with the puck at the center point. To the near side, it's McGrath. McGrath takes a tour of the zone, turns and shoots. That is blocked by Hay, and a second shot attempt by McGrath went wide. RedHawks go 2-on-1 the other direction. It's knocked out of the air. Try at the empty net. Walker scores!
What a hustle play in the neutral zone. I don't know if that was Max Helgeson or Ethan Hay, but both of them made fantastic plays to get the puck out of the zone. Walker bats the puck out of midair. Yeah, it was Max Helgeson. One-handed sliding play, chips the puck right to Walker. He hits it out of midair, and Walker just pokes it in with one hand. That's a textbook empty netter. It doesn't get much more fun and interesting than that.
So the RedHawks dump it back in. Walker gets the goal. The freshman from Orano, Minnesota, Stupka, who's already got his first career goal tonight, takes a shot from the left circle and is snapped up with the glove by Ruprecht. Assist to Helgeson and Ethan Hay. For Helgeson, that is his first point as a RedHawk. Same can be said for Hay. And for Bradley Walker, his first career goal into the empty net at 18:44. 1 minute to play. We'll see if Ferris State elects to pull again as the puck is at neutral ice and Miami clears in. Grimes going after it for the RedHawks. Pushes it up against the end wall in the offensive zone. Puck is ripped around the far side where Dukovac gets after it for Miami. And the RedHawks chase back to it after a hit was laid on Dukovac. Lukashevich pulls it free and clears as far as Ferris State's blue line. 30 seconds to play with Miami up 2 goals. Best skates it down the right alley, tries to shovel it in, and Lukashevich handled him in the process. Goaltender off again for Ferris State. There's only 20 seconds remaining though as Peru doubles back on it for the Bulldogs. Up the near side, it is dumped in by Zeri with 10 seconds to go. Puck is wrapped around to the far side for Best. And a shot attempt through traffic by Jean-Louis. He now wraps it around and throws it in front, but time expires. Well, it's been a while after a winless NCHC slate last year. Feels great in the season opener. The Miami RedHawks into the win column with a 6-4 victory over the Ferris State Bulldogs on night 1 of the series. RedHawks did it in come from behind fashion. This team showed some nice resiliency to come back from a couple different deficits, and against a team that has as many veterans as Ferris State, a team with a lot of youth in Miami, showed a lot of steely in this game, Jeff, and yeah. I think the RedHawks are certainly going to have some things to clean up from an execution standpoint, but the energy in this building was tremendous, and the ability to get up off the mat in the third was huge.
Of course, yeah, I think, you know, Anthony Noreen talks about it all the time. Having, you know, what makes a team isn't how well you get together when you're winning, how well, like, it doesn't matter what happens when you're winning. It matters what happens when you're down, when you're going against the grain, and you just need to grind out a goal or two. Just try and get back into the game. You know, through the second period, obviously, Ferris State was the only team to score in that second period, and it just felt like they had kind of controlled everything. Just they played their game, grinding, grit, just beat the crap out of you, and they did. And Miami really found a way to just play their game, found a way to bounce back. They put shifts together. They controlled the puck through the neutral zone. They got pucks out of the defensive zone. Their exits, their entries were all really fantastic in that third period. And, you know, they got rewarded for it. And, you know, a 6-4 victory, especially against a team like Ferris State that's going to play chippy, that's going to play hard-nosed, that's a big win, and especially in front of a really exciting home crowd like you talked about, Luke.
First win since October 23rd of last year for the RedHawks. And for Miami, how about the offensive output Miami put out in this game? You add on the empty netter at the end, but again, you get a huge insurance goal in hindsight after Ferris immediately answers to make it a 1-goal hockey game once again. But yeah, it has been a really long time. You haven't had a 6-goal game for Miami in a couple of seasons at this point, and the offense really seemed to be clicking, which has not been the case over the last couple of years, which is really encouraging.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you look at the scoreboard, obviously, you know, it seems like defense was optional in this game considering the number of shots and the number of goals. But I think, you know, both of these teams, you know, they found ways to get pucks to the net. They found ways to get bodies to the net. And that, you know, that really showcased itself. That just a huge, huge win. Obviously, like you said earlier, you know, there wasn't the prettiest game of all time for both of these squads, not just Miami. But, you know, execution is going to be big. And, you know, but you like what you've seen from a tactical standpoint, X's and O's, kind of how they're moving the puck around the zone, up through neutral ice, and, obviously this is just one game. It's the first game of a long season, but there's a lot of things to be excited about with this new RedHawks roster.
The taco coupons on their way out to the fans here at Cady Arena. And again, it has been a little while for this Miami team. Must feel great for Anthony Noreen and this staff. We're sure, though, he's going to be as level-headed as ever post-game when we chat with him in a few minutes. We'll take a break, and when we come back, Will Salzarulo will have your Red Hawk Radio post-game to get you wrapped up. But again, we'll also be here tomorrow night. Jeff will be on the call with you, along with Will and Gavin Stark, for the second game of the series, Miami and Ferris State. And again, a change this year. Saturday night starts are pushed up by an hour, so our pregame coverage starts tomorrow at 5:35 Eastern Time with puck drop at 6:05. And that is, of course, our next broadcast tomorrow evening as we get this series wrapped up. So for my partner, Jeff Middleton, Luke West-Poley signing off. Miami wins on opening night 6-4. Thanks for tuning into this presentation of Miami Hockey on Red Hawk Radio. Post-game coming up after the break.
You're listening to Red Hawk Radio, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to say Miami has won the first game of the season. That's right, 6-4 in favor of Miami. Now, what a match, I must say. What a game, what an entertaining game. I feel like the third period, Miami got three goals in the third period alone. I think the second period was a wake-up call for them. Noreen was like, hey, guys, you got to do what you got to do. Play more physical. Like, be physical, be aggressive. And they ended out with the win. So, goals in the third. Casper Nasson for Miami, assisted by Doug Grimes and Maximilian Helgson. Justin Spudka of Miami with his first college career goal, assisted by Doug Grimes. Congratulations, Justin. And then also Mateo Giampa, Miami. It was a power play goal assisted by Coach Delic and Ryder Thompson. Ferris State answered that goal pretty quickly with Emerson Good assisted by Tanner Rose. And to bury it, Bradley Walker for Miami got his first career goal, empty net, assisted by Maximilian Helgeson and Ethan Hay. Now penalties for the third. Ferris State had all three penalties with high sticking, charging, and tripping. There was a dispute on whether or not the charging would be a major penalty. However, the refs looked it over, and it was considered a minor penalty. Shots on net, Miami with 41, Ferris State with 36. A lot of great goals, a lot of great plays on both sides, especially the Ferris State one. They were defending like there was no tomorrow. Like, the defense was absolutely fantastic, but Miami's offense found a way to get through their tight defense, and they walked away with the win. So that's pretty much it here on Red Hawk Radio. This has been Miami's first hockey game of the season. Records now, Miami 1-0-0, Ferris State 0-1-0. This has been Red Hawk Radio, and I've been Will Salzarulo. Have a great night. Thank you.